And welcome to, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scio Planning Commission for July 14th, 2025. With that, roll call.
Grant.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Culbertson.
Here.
Kindle. Fletcher.
Present.
Hyde. Present. Walsh.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move to the adoption of the agenda, and before we adopt the agenda, Laura, would you like to make an announcement about the one public hearing that was?
Sure, there was a public hearing that was originally scheduled for this evening for Quick Trip, but that has been rescheduled to our July 28th meeting. The information that was given to us by the applicant missed a property, and so it didn't get notified correctly. So it's been re-notified, and all of those neighbors should have been already received that notification for that. But if you're here for that, we're not going to have that on the agenda tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, any revisions or additions to our agenda?
Oh, sorry.
Can I adopt the agenda?
Can I
Yes.
just also make one minor correction?
Oh, yeah, the correction.
So,
yeah.
our communications and correspondence, it says the Ann Arbor City Master Plan letter. This letter is clearly from Ann Arbor Charter Township, not the city of Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, with that correction to our agenda,
Move to adopt the agenda as corrected or amended.
moved by Moore, support by,
Second motion.
okay, Fletcher. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting the agenda as corrected, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving forward. Presentations. And I do believe we should have our OHM team on. That should be promoted to,
Do you want Eric Dreyer to, okay,
please. And there might be some other folks. there.
Stacy is on.
And then Eric can let us know if there's anyone else that needs to be promoted.
I don't know, I heard, okay, well, he's on.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Eric, welcome.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, is there anyone else that would be online that needs to be promoted at all?
Just
Stacy,
me.
Just you? Okay, all right.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Jackson Road Corridor study and give you a brief overview of the recommendations, a little bit about what we studied, and happy to answer any questions as we go through it. So I've got a couple of slides here to go through. I think some of you will find this relatively informative, and some of you have probably already seen this stuff. So I won't take too much of your time. Let me get this up here. And can everybody see that on your screens?
Yeah.
All right. Oops. There you go. Okay, so Jackson Road. We've got Jackson Road running kind of through the main commercial corridor of Scio Township. A lot of work has been done on the corridor already, and we were brought in by the township to kind of think about what the future of Jackson Road looks like and how it becomes more of a commercial corridor for the future of Scio Township. We know that about half of the population within the township lives sort of within that blue box there. And as you all have experienced and what we saw is that the corridor is really growing fast. There's a lot of development out there. There's a lot of new residents coming in. And we want to get ahead of it. We want to make sure that the next iteration of Jackson Road really reflects what the community wants to see. And really, I think a driving force of this was more on the transportation side. Safety from the non-motorized perspective, really from a bicycle and pedestrian aspect. Vehicle speeding was a huge issue. And then just a general overall comfort, both pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists just don't feel safe and comfortable out on Jackson Road. So when we started the project, really, we got some direction from the township to try to take what's already been done. You all have been doing a lot of good work along the corridor and within the township, and not really try to recreate anything because it's been baked. Communities had their say, and so consolidating all the different work into one kind of easily referenced document was a big goal of this. Non-motorized connectivity and safety, particularly along the corridor, crossings, connectivity to other pathways within the township, was a big goal of this. Thinking about how natural elements, green stormwater infrastructure, and other kind of landscaping and beautification elements could work their way into the streetscape. And then again, that's sort of the overall purpose of this was to have this list of projects that could be used as a framework for investment in the future. Our process, we started roughly December of last year, so this is about a 7-month study. We wrapped up just at the end of the month in June. We started with an existing conditions analysis, tried to understand as much as we could about the corridor from a data perspective, and then we went out and did a tour of the corridor along with Jan and Chris. We spent some time with the township and then our stakeholder focus group, set some goals. What do people want to see here? What are the major issues? How do we solve them? Those goals informed the development of our what we call an opportunities framework, and that was a kind of a large sort of spaghetti thrown at the wall, if you will, of a map that had every single idea that we could identify, put on there, and we started to see where some of the areas where there was opportunity to overlap investments. And we want to do this for a couple of different reasons, but mostly so that we're investing in places where people are, and those investments have a better chance of, excuse me, of succeeding, because where people are going to use them, and then that's going to spur more activity. Those opportunities were refined with the help of the focus group into some draft recommendations, and then ultimately into our final plan, final recommendations, which you'll see today. A little bit about what we heard. We did a big push for engagement in kind of the early springtime, March, April. We put out a community survey. We wanted to know how people use Jackson Road, what some of the issues they were having, and what they wanted to see fixed. We received 330 comments just on the online survey, and I think of particular interest to this. Most of the people who responded, about 80%, live near Jackson Road, or they go to businesses on Jackson Road, or both. So we've got a lot of people who responded who have a pretty intimate knowledge of what's going on along the corridor. And then what we heard was that roadway safety, biking, walking, and just kind of general travel along the corridor were the most important items. These really needed to be addressed to really make it a place where people want to be. Vehicle speeds and dangerous traffic are really what people think about when they go out to Jackson Road. A lot of comments about trouble crossing the road or near misses, and a need to try to fix that because people want to be able to walk or to spend more time along the corridor. There's a desire for more and better bike and transit options, more shops and businesses, and just kind of general more attractive and welcoming environment. We heard from some of the focus group members that there's kind of a lack of identity in certain parts of the corridor as well. And so we took that opportunity with this study to try to identify some opportunities to coalesce around a feeling that we could strive for along the corridor. I'm going to go through kind of what we recommended. These are higher level recommendations at this point. I'm happy to answer any more specific questions about this, but in order to be respectful of your all's time, I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through all of these. I think you all have the draft report as well. So we organized everything into 5 kind of focus areas, what we called them: transit access, non-motorized access and connectivity, roadway safety improvements, development nodes and land use, and then environmental restoration and preservation. These are kind of the 5 goals that we set at the beginning of the project. When we think about transit access, really the goal with these recommendations is to enhance how people use the transit network. Right now, we have both AAATA and the Wave running along Jackson Road, but and there's some desire for people to use it more, but they don't feel comfortable getting there and using it on a daily basis. And so some ideas that we had to really help kind of spur that along was one, just making the fare system integrated between Wave and AAATA. That's sort of out of your control, but something that I think is important to mention. A mobility hub in the Meyer parking lot. We already know that there is a transfer point on the west side of Meyer. It's kind of hidden behind back in the corner. Our thought is to kind of bring that out into the front, dedicate some parking spaces, make kind of a park and ride similar to the location that the ride has out on Plymouth Road, and make it a place that people can go to easily and transfer and take the bus into town. We want to align our mid-block crossings within the corridor with all the transit stops. So particularly in that eastern portion of the corridor, there's a lot of transit stops there, and making it easier for people to get across the street because they may be getting on one side of the street where their house is, or their business, or their place of work is, but then when they leave or go home, they have to cross the street, and doing that can take quite a bit of time because you have to walk all the way to a crosswalk and then back down. And then continue to make sure that we have safe and comfortable waiting areas, shelters, benches, signage, places that people feel comfortable to wait for the bus at a darker time of day or time of day that's not as conducive to transit ridership. So when we talk about the mobility hub, current transfer areas there in that red dot, the thought is to move it over to the other side of the Meyer, utilize a portion of their parking lot, make it a little bit more visible from Zeeb Road. And as part of that, think about this from a multimodal perspective. It's not just a bus stop. It's a bus stop that has a nice shelter and a comfortable place to wait, some amenities, some real-time arrival signage, parking lot, and some dedicated parking spaces for park and ride riders, multimodal connections so that you have a safe and comfortable walk or bike into that area. And then making sure that we have some wayfinding signage from Zeeb Road and from Jackson Road to say, hey, there's a nice bus stop right over here in front of Meyer. Come on in and use it. And then this kind of shows the scope of all of the transit recommendations, where some of our mid-block crossings would go, where that transfer hub is located, some other smaller transfer points that could be maybe more like a enhanced bus stop, a little bit more of a waiting area, places for bike parking, things like that. And then again, how it kind of organizes or fits within the larger transportation context. And when we think about non-motorized access and connectivity, really the goal with this focus area and this portion of the project is to make it easier for people to walk and bike. We've got a lot of adjacent neighborhoods on either side of the corridor, particularly to the south. And we want to make sure that those folks have the opportunity to walk and bike when they want to access Jackson Road. And there's a lot of amenities here that I think what we heard was people were sort of tied to their vehicles in order to go to the grocery store, to go pick up a gallon of milk. And so some of the things that we came up with that I think are going to help foster some of this walkability is, again, filling all the sidewalk gaps. That's kind of a no-brainer, making sure that there's no places where you have to walk through grass, particularly in the winter when there may be snow. Introducing some pedestrian scale lighting and landscaping. In this image here, you can kind of see this light that's in the mid-block crossing, shining directly on the pedestrians. So in the months when it gets darker early or even at night, we want to know, or we need to make sure that the pedestrians are visible. There's a lot of traffic on this corridor, and visibility is a big thing. We want to increase the connectivity of our non-motorized network to the corridor and then along the corridor as well. So we've got the border-to-border pathway that runs through the township. We've got the Zeeb Road pathway. There's a whole other the whole network of pathways that are either in process or already constructed, and making sure that people can get up to Jackson Road and back down to where they need to go in a safe way is really a key to the future of the corridor. And then ultimately, we'll share a little bit of an idea of how this might look, but transitioning the sidewalks from standard 5 or 6 foot wide sidewalks to something like a shared use pathway that accommodates both bicyclists and pedestrians in a safe manner. It gets our bikes off of the street. There's a lot of traffic here. People are driving fast, and it's not the most conducive place to ride a bike. And so if we can provide that safe space, a little bit more protected off the street, and do so in a way that the pedestrians and the bicyclists are visible, it's going to make this corridor a much more friendly place to ride your bike. And again, just a couple of recommendations here. We identified a few additional off-street pathways that connect into some of the neighborhoods here. This builds on the PROS plan and some of the other trails and pathways that you all have been thinking about. And really trying to, again, kind of connect everything together a little bit more seamlessly. Roadway safety improvements, this is the big one. Improving the safety and comfort of all users. This is also including people in vehicles and motorists, but most especially the most vulnerable roadway users, your pedestrians, your bicyclists, your transit riders. And a lot of this focuses on slowing vehicles down to the actual speed limit. We heard a lot of stories of people driving 60 or 70 miles an hour down Jackson Road, and that is dangerous for everybody. So we want to make sure that people are driving the speed limit using some geometric or roadway changes. Some of that, 1 or 2 of those opportunities to do that are by narrowing the roadway lanes to 11 feet from 12 feet, and then reducing the turn radius of our turn. So if you see in this image here, there's just that little kind of bump out of concrete and some paint. That reduced radius of that turn means that vehicles have to drive slower to get around it. So rather than somebody taking the curve at 20 or 30 miles an hour, they have to take this curve at 10 or 15 miles an hour, which is safer for people who are crossing the street. We want to reduce conflict points by limiting the number of turns, and particularly the number of driveways. So I put driveway consolidation there. There's some areas along this corridor that have a very high driveway density, and that contributes to a lot of potential safety issues. We want to increase the visibility of non-motorized users by raising sidewalks, raising crosswalks so that people are visible through intersections, and then providing some real-time feedback on travel speeds. So when we talk about visibility, the raised shared use path crosswalk at a driveway entrance, this is a concept that could be applied to this corridor, where you're coming up, you're sort of at, your head is above the height of a vehicle at the intersection or at the driveway entrance, so that vehicles who are coming in or out see you as a cyclist or as a pedestrian much more clearly. Additionally, you could add brightly colored paint, you could add high visibility crosswalks to this area to ensure that everybody, or that vehicles see you as you're crossing. Introducing things like street trees, vertical elements, moving the buildings, new buildings having kind of a 0 lot line or close to 0 lot line will help reduce speeds by just giving that feeling of enclosure. And then there's been a lot of research on the kind of real-time feedback signs and how well they work, and surprisingly, they work pretty well. There's been some research that shows that they do help slow vehicles down to closer to the speed limit. It's not the end all be all, it's not the only thing you would do, but it does help. And so we did a little concepting here of what Jackson Road could look like now, 3 or 4 years from now, and then maybe 10 years into the future. And what we have, this is kind of showing the existing conditions. There's a lot of parking lots that abut the roadway corridor. You've got your standard kind of bike lanes in the street, 12-foot drive lanes, and then a big center median. It's wide, it's open, it's fast. It's not a place where people would really want to go or choose to walk or bike. But with a little bit of planting, some reallocation of space on the street, we can narrow those drive lanes down to 11 feet. That gives us just a little bit of extra space to put a buffer in for a bike lane. And that bike lane helps not only slow vehicles down because of the narrowed width of the roadway, but also provides a shorter crossing distance for pedestrians who are maybe crossing the street. Adding more trees into the middle of into the median, you know, we have to make sure that there's no utilities blocking that, but adding more trees helps to slow vehicles down because of the feeling of enclosure. And then starting to introduce some improved bus stop and transit elements here as well. And then into the future, as development starts to come in on some of the nodes that we're going to talk about, moving those buildings up to the lot line, having a sidewalk right up against those buildings, and then taking our bike lane, transitioning it onto the I guess outside of the curb, moving the curb line to where the buffer was. Still maintain 2 vehicle travel lanes, center turn lane, but you can see the roadway is actually there's less pavement there, less impervious surface, and a little bit more space to have things like high quality transit shelters, the shared use path, 2-way bike lane with a sidewalk. This is showing up to 16 feet if you really wanted to get wild with it and really provide some space for the non-motorized users. And really what I think supports a lot of this is the landscaping and street tree growth within the median and then within the kind of sidewalk planting strips as well. We did a little thinking about development nodes and future land use. This wasn't the total scope of the project, but it's an important piece to start to think about how Jackson Road transitions from a place where people drive through to a place where people drive to and stay. And the recommendations around land use really feed into some of the transportation elements that we're thinking about. So there's kind of 4 key areas along the corridor where we want to really kind of target development. Baker Road, at Menards, at the Zeeb Road intersection, and the Quality 16. These are sites that have had a little bit of interest, if not full interest. There's already been some work done with the new development at Baker Road on the south side of the street. And utilizing that activity to kind of spur new excitement, new activity within the corridor. There's a real opportunity here to kind of establish some design standards that promote walkability, placemaking, local character, and build upon the non-motorized infrastructure that we're recommending as part of the streetscape or the street improvements. This isn't going to happen overnight, so we know that there's going to be some need to kind of activate these nodes with short-term temporary activities and then transition those into longer-term permanent developments. And then a need that we identified that may be useful to think about as folks start to talk to you about future development is what kind of unique developments could be supported within Scio Township, within Jackson Road, and how do they improve the lives of the current residents of Scio, but also attract people from other kind of surrounding communities to make sure that there's enough it makes enough economic sense to invest in this area. So we don't want to say that the development is only for people who are not residents, but we need to think a little bit grander, like how any big box store, Menards, Meijer, those are attracting people from around the region. So these four development sites, you can kind of see they're evenly spaced along the corridor, kind of allows for enough space to do some interesting and creative things along the corridor and within these nodes. We want to build on any existing activity that's already been had here, and in some of the cases like around Zeeb Road and out of Baker, there's some real catalyzing opportunities here that can help sort of usher in the next wave. The biggest thing as it relates to this study is coordinating how land use improvements and transportation improvements interact with each other. So within these nodes, it's really important to have design that supports walkability and supports transit usage. Is connected to the surrounding area so that people can walk and they can bike, and has a feeling that people want to be in. And so we pulled some ideas from other areas around the country. For example, or for reference, the Menards site that kind of wraps around the building there. These 3 parcels is about 18 acres. So ranging from 10 to 33, you can see kind of what other communities have done around the country. This is mixed use development with a range of retail, commercial, hotel, maybe a big box store thrown in there, or a cinema, some sort of green space or public space, and then quite a bit of residential, both within the site itself and then surrounding. So you can see the Suwannee Town Center in Georgia, kind of their town center is this development here, but then supporting development has sort of folded in once that area got established. And again, these range from 10, 20 acres seems to be about the size that we've seen, but all the way up to 33. And this is the Rochester Hills. So local example that we can pull from. We thought what makes Scio special is the surrounding natural areas that have been either preserved or are part of conservation land, and utilizing that idea of access to nature as a design feature was something that I think you all could build on. And so thinking about how to integrate those preserves, those natural areas into future development could have a really strong way of attracting new people to the corridor and attracting residents to come support these places. And then making sure that they're connected, like these pathways that you see here. And then finally, environmental restoration and preservation. This kind of builds on the last little bit of what I just talked about, but maintaining the township's natural feel and that natural character by having these tendrils of nature kind of fold into the corridor. The idea around street trees, landscaping, greening up the corridor as much as we can, not only helps with traffic safety and walkability and making people feel comfort, especially when it's hot out, but it also invokes that feeling of nature. We have a lot of big trees here in Michigan, and it's a good way of kind of showing the character. As part of that, we can incorporate green stormwater infrastructure within the roadway in certain areas, and then within new developments to ensure that we're not putting any extra strain on or as little extra strain on the existing sewer system as possible. And then thinking about the future of Jackson Road as kind of this green corridor that has connections down into the conservation areas and the parks, up to the border-to-border trail, was kind of a reoccurring theme that came up. A couple of recommendations around GSI, and this can continue to be updated as we identify other areas to have GSI included. And then thinking about the roadway, Jackson Road as a corridor, as a parkway. This image here is from the Woodlands in Texas, and it's a big master plan community, and they have these parkways that, in this case is fairly residential in nature, but the idea, I think, translates over to Jackson Road. You want to extend into those conservation nodes and conservation areas, and make sure that and try to incorporate those areas up into the corridor as much as possible. That's a really good way, I think, of incorporating that unique identity that the corridor or the township has. So overall, that's a really quick overview of what we developed. The plan document itself has a lot more detail about specific recommendations. But really, this is intended to guide you all in decision making into the future and help investors, developers, grant opportunities, sort of identify the next round of investments. It's important to note that each of these recommendations will work on its own. They'll be fine. But as you start to incorporate more and more of them and co-locate them and idea in those nodal areas and next to each other, the recommendations are going to build on themselves. So you're going to start to see greater and greater impacts, positive impacts as you connect trails within a development and have new shops and restaurants and housing all kind of co-located together. We want to co-locate those improvements in those nodes and then start to build out. If we try to spread things too thin, you're not going to see the effects that you want. Connectivity to Jackson Road is essential for connecting things like this new development up to the amenities that are along the corridor, and then ensuring that the people can get to other areas within the community. And then again, we want to try to maintain that naturalized character as much as possible, bring that feeling of nature up as close and along Jackson Road as much as we can. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions. I'll stop sharing so you can see me better, but I'm happy to go back, talk about anything, answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Eric. And I
Yeah.
do want to let people know that we do have Christy wrangled a date for a joint Board of Trustees, DDA, and Planning Commission meeting for August 19th. We'll be officially scheduling that meeting tonight. And I do want to mention that there in the packet is the full draft report, and we're calling it a draft just so if there are some things that we want to amend or just kind of tweak, we have maybe a couple weeks to do that. It'd be nice to finalize it before before that August 19th meeting. So if people would take a look at it, and if there are some tweaks, and I think one thing we were gonna touch base, also send that draft report out to the stakeholders and see if they have any specific, because the stakeholders group included the Road Commission, Water Resources Commission, etc. So with that, wanted to allow maybe 5 to 10 minutes just for some questions, because it's a lot to digest, and I think people really need to dig in and then also prepare for that meeting, the joint meeting. So questions?
Just have a statement. I really appreciate the work you've done, Eric. This really captures a lot of what we were talking about, a lot of the ideas. So
Yeah, thank you. It's been great to work with you all.
Yeah, it's been fun. Other questions for Eric? Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Eric, do we know what the split is on traffic between what's local and what's outside visitors coming to take advantage of commercial or retail on Jackson Road?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, we don't have that level of data. If we really wanted to get into that, we could get with SEMCOG. I believe they have access to some data called Placer AI, and that sort of tracks more regional trips around. The only data we had access for this study was SEMCOG traffic counts from, I think, last year. So it's not as granular as we could get, but there's always the opportunity, I think, to talk with SEMCOG about that. It's kind of emerging stuff that we haven't had much ability to do or work with.
I thought there was some SIMCOG estimates of about 8,000 to 9,000.
Yeah, in the report, yeah, it's sort of who comes in and who comes out, but not necessarily for what purpose, and it's mostly commuting, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were able to pull some data from the Census Bureau about commuting data, particularly into the adjacent communities. And there's quite a bit of trips going out, probably into Ann Arbor, and then a good number of trips coming in to support the retail spaces. And I don't remember what those were off the top of my head, but it's a pretty good inflow outflow each day. But where exactly those people are going to is a little more granular, and we didn't quite get into that level of detail.
So the figures that I'm talking about, that, I thought that was visitors.
I think it's a commuting of who comes into Jackson Road. Do you remember? I think that's in the report.
Yeah,
The number of
it's all
people coming in
commuters.
versus the number of people that go out is primarily for work.
Yep.
As opposed to coming in for,
Oh, I see. I
yeah,
see.
it's employment based as opposed.
Yes.
Purchase, yeah,
Okay.
visiting, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen.
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Do we have any obligation to maintain Jackson Road some way as either a service drive or a detour should I-94 get closed?
That's a good question as well. That's something I think we could ask Mike Davis from MDOT. He's on the focus group or the stakeholder committee. I can check with our internal folks as well who work a lot with MDOT, and we can try to get an answer for that. I'm not exactly sure. My guess is probably yes.
People find routes.
It's happened recently a couple of times, so more sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Okay, good question.
I have a question, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's for Eric. Going forward, after this report is finally, what's our first step? Updating the master plan to have something in it that presents this so that developers know what's coming and what we want them to do.
I think one is, I think August 19th is important because we want to make sure, the recommendations, et cetera, yes. I mean, that would be with the DDA and the Board of Trustees. Then, also, I think, at master plan, yes, but also looking at our, the Jackson Road Overlay District and I also see a little bit of work with the road commission, especially around the narrowing of lanes and, just so there isn't any veto of some of the recommendations in the plan. Yeah,
Sure.
the veto was not good. So, some of those things, and then I think Laura needs some time, obviously, to look at the plan too and see what from a zoning standpoint, the focus areas definitely have stakeholders within them. So I think, talking with Menards, talking with the folks that have the Quality 16 site, we have something coming before us on the Malloy site in process. So I think there are multiple kind of steps. Yeah. But I think building that consensus is gonna be with landowners too, and, and the consistency within our zoning. Sure. Any other comment on that question, Laura?
Just that you said the road commission has a tiny, but they have a small portion. I think they have quite a large portion. So, I mean, I'm glad that they're a stakeholder and, a lot of the discussion about the addition of bike lanes and the narrowing of lanes, that's a huge conversation to have with them. They're gonna play a big role in the implementation of this plan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the opportunity for discussion.
Thank
Okay.
you, Eric.
Yes, thank you very much, and please thank the team too. We had a really a diverse team of folks from OHM.
Yeah, I will let them know tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. All right, and
Thanks.
I'm gonna open it up for public comment next. Is there anyone, okay, so, just as a reminder for, public comment, we have a public hearing this evening, and that is on the, it's the 7555 rezoning. And if you want to make a comment on that, we will have a separate public hearing for that. So anything else other than that particular item that you'd like to address the planning commission on, now would be the time to do that. And you can come up and sign in, and we'll start with anyone present in the room and then move to folks online. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on anything other than the public hearing? Oh, seeing no one, we'll move to folks online.
Rob Pattinson?
Hi, Rob.
Hi, everyone. Angela, was that you who just spoke just now?
Yes.
Okay, would you do me a favor and tap on the screen? Let's see if the microphone that's picking you up is that one, or if it's the ceiling mics. I think it might be the microphone on the screen there.
We were asking her to speak again, Rob.
Yeah, see, Bob is really quiet and Angela is really loud and clear.
And
So-
that microphone is definitely louder than the rest of the pin. How's
And
that?
Yep, I can hear the reverberations of you speaking, Bob, through the ceiling speakers, but I don't think it's coming into the AV system. I think it's going through the ceiling speakers and then into the microphone at the station there. So there might be a setting there that I haven't the faintest idea. I can't help you with what that setting is, but just everyone needs to know that you need to speak up much louder. And remember, on these microphones, please turn on your microphones. And remember, these microphones are designed to have you speak somewhere between 6 and 10 inches away from them so that it's clear. And then, Laura, you're really going to have to speak up so that your voice carries across the room to that microphone by the station.
And I do want to add, Rob, that there have been some issues with the sound, and I think Christy has someone coming to investigate it. So
Okay.
there has been a noticeable decrease in the intelligibility of folks online.
Righto. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
Angela's being very quiet. All right.
Close public comment.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Moore. Support from Commissioner Hyde. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, public comment is closed at 7:43. All right, moving on, approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes, 6/9 and 6/23. We'll take 6/9 first. Are there any additions or revisions to the 6/9 minutes?
We missed you, Rob. Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
6/9 minutes. Is there support? That was Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the 6/9 minutes as submitted, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on to the 6/23 minutes. Yes.
It was on page 3 of the actual minutes.
Mm.
It was Laura's number 4 item. I would say completed. Should have said completed.
Completed.
Good
Yep.
catch.
Good catch. I went right over that one. Any other corrections or revisions?
Not hearing any, I move to approve the minutes as revised.
Okay, is there support?
Sounds good.
Okay, that is, sorry, Hyde and Fletcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other Bob. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, the 6:23 minutes are approved as correct. With that, we're gonna move to our business section, which is, and first on the agenda is a public hearing. And the in the public hearing, just to give folks an idea of sort of the agenda of a public hearing. We hear from the applicant first, and then from our consultants. Any clarifying questions by the planning commission, and then the public.
I thought this public hearing was rescheduled to next meeting.
No,
That was one that wasn't listed.
it's not on your agenda, the one that was.
It was originally said that.
We originally had two, imagine that. Okay, so that's the agenda, and we ask people who are commenting to try and keep your comments succinct to about 3 minutes. We will give you a reminder at 3 to kind of finish up. So with that, I'm going to call the public hearing. My glasses on. For OA number 25003 SJ 7555 LC rezoning A1 to I1. And ask that it's opening it at 7:47. And I ask the applicant to please come forward. Good evening and welcome.
Not to stand or sit.
You can sit, and there'll also be a sheet for you to sign in. You can do that when we're done.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome, and yes, please go ahead and, provide some information for us, and
Sure.
yes.
So my name is John Kazanjian, and in 2019, I bought the property at 7555 from Ron Hodge, who had owned it for a few years. Evidently, he also has a large piece of property on another large piece of property on Jackson Road. And after purchasing it, I asked the township and approached and asked if I could build a big storage area. And I was approved for a 13,000 square foot storage building, which I put like way to the back. Since then, there was a house on the property that was in disrepair, and I put a new roof on it, cleaned it up quite a bit. And there's been a single mom and her son I love dearly, and they've moved in, and they've been there ever since. Then the old kennel building was also in serious disrepair, and I put a new roof on that, and I've been cleaning it up as well. There's also a furniture repair person who's been there for many years, and prior to him, I've only seen on the township's pictures that it was a carpet cleaning or a chem carpet cleaning place. Before that, I didn't even know. I saw the pictures in the township site. So it came to the township's attention that this was, there were commercial things on this property, and it was zoned agricultural. And so they said, hey, you're operating commercial businesses on this property. And I was like, I'm sorry, but they've been here for like 30 or 40 years. And I understand it's not in compliance. So to that end, I asked Laura Krebs if she would get together with me, and we went through, she had me tell her what I was hoping to do with the property. And I did, and she said, I think we have a pathway to that. I think what we want to do is become an I1, and you'll go and submit these plans, and brought in an engineer, and we've created those plans, and we've presented them to you. So, yeah. And then, by the way, just so you all know, last week I received an email that was from the Scio, the Township of Scio Planning Commission at USA.com asking me to send them $4,800 in a very, very official. Amen. Yeah, and they said if I didn't
Just don't.
wire the money before the meeting, that my case would be removed from the docket. So I printed out the documents, I went to Bank of Ann Arbor, and thank God, Michael said, hey, have you called to make sure these are the right? And I almost lied, I gotta be honest with you, because I didn't know if I'd be able to reach anyone, but because I didn't lie, and he said, I can't do it if you don't check. So I called, and Ryan, God bless him, answered the phone at the treasurer's office. And he knows me because he's my neighbor over there. And he said, John, it's a scam. So I was that close.
Wow.
So just want to make you aware. I asked him if he could inform the authorities. I said, hey, call the FBI and have them put a freeze on this account. And he said, unfortunately, it's not big enough for their attention. So just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. But that's what's going on. I'd like to continue improving this property. I'd like to do it in accordance with the planning commission. And the one caveat I'm asking for is I store student belongings for University of Michigan students. That's what my business has been since 1997. And so 2 weeks out of the year, I put stuff into that big barn, and then 2 weeks at the end of the summer, I do all the deliveries. So, yeah, so that's what I'd like to continue to do if I could with the proper authorization. And then maybe someday, as I explained to Laura, maybe, I mean, it's 5 acres. Continue to improve the land, maybe put in some spaces where this, like, what do they call it? What I talked about, like an electrician or a plumber.
Like a contractor.
Yes, just like units that contractors could kind of bring their vehicles into in the evening, you know, and have their equipment and their tools and store them. Because a lot of my neighbors out on Ellsworth, where my other business is, they get their tools stolen, and they have to bring all their vans and everything inside at night to prevent that from happening. And so I spoke to Bart Wise and friends from college who are in this business, and they said that they think that this would be an ideal location for things like that. I don't have the money to do it right now, but that is something that I would be interested in doing possibly in the future. I'm not hiding anything. I'm telling you everything. If you ask me any questions, I'll tell you exactly. Bob knows. He's my neighbor for many years. And I didn't even know you would be here, Bob.
Didn't
So
recognize
it's
your
nice to
name.
see you. So I assure you, I'm not gonna do anything I don't tell you I'm gonna do. And if you ask me any question, I'll answer it honestly.
We have a bad reputation in the community or something.
No, you don't. I just want you to know, I don't know what you see up here, and yeah, so.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest and direct with you.
Thank you very much. Find any questions on the facts from Don? No, then we'll go to planners review.
Sure, so I'll just give a couple factual things. As John said, this is 7555 Jackson Road. The current zoning is A1 General Agriculture. This is one of the very few remaining agricultural parcels along Jackson Road. It was brought to our attention by code enforcement officer that there was some commercial activity. The accessory structure was built. When built, John said this was for his personal use. Clearly it's a business. So he is requesting the rezoning of the property to I1 in order to allow for the existing businesses that are on there. I would note that the warehouse storage portion is a conditional use. The furniture refurbishing is a permitted use. So even after rezoning, John, you'll have to come back and get a conditional use for the warehouse portion of the site.
If you could all explain to me how that.
I will do that. We can do that at the, after this
I'm
is
sorry,
over.
Laura, what,
So the
So-
warehouse portion of the business is a conditional use in the I-1 district. So if this were to be rezoned to I-1, a conditional use would still be required to bring his use into compliance.
Okay.
The master plan, the site, allows for a mixture of, well, the most appropriate zoning category is C2. However, for mixed uses, it allows for other, zoning like I-1 or OS. But I want to note that to the south and west of this property is already zoned I-1, so it's surrounded by this, similar zoning category. When we think about rezoning a property, we also have to think about the permitted and conditional uses that are associated with it. All permitted uses in the I-1 district would be allowed to locate here and by right. So that would be any uses in the office service district, manufacturing, research assembly uses, processing uses, research and design centers, printing, publishing and related services, artist, pottery and recording studios, office and warehouse of skilled trade contractors and service contractors. Conditional uses that you would have additional consideration over are tool and die and machine shops, retail sales when in conjunction with a principal permitted or conditional use, self-storage, wireless communication facilities, private indoor recreation, warehouse wholesaling, refrigerated and general storage, a standard restaurant, an indoor theater, large scale retail or minor vehicle auto repair. And in the last part, last couple pages of our recommendations, we do recommend approval and we note 18 findings of fact. And those include the subject site is in an area that's historically been zoned and used for commercial and industrial uses. It is surrounded by industrial and commercial zoning districts and uses. It is located along Jackson Road. So I can go through all those, but I don't think I need to unless you would. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
What, next door, EFW, what are they zoned?
They're also conditional on their warehouse.
Yeah, so east of the site is on C2.
C2.
There's C2.
And a follow-up question, oh, go ahead, question.
Laura, on page 4 of your report, it looks like surrounding is mixed use commercial. I do see a little bit south. It's
That's the master plan,
Right.
right.
but it's currently zoned. The zoning is different than the master plan. The zoning to the south and the west is I-1. So I see what you're saying. Yes, the mixed use commercial is the future land use designation. But it's also adjacent to industrial uses current.
And a follow-up to that is, what uses wouldn't be permitted in C2 that I-1? I'm just trying to understand the recommendations for I-1 as opposed to C2.
Since it's
Well,
right next to
the
it,
warehouse use would not be allowed
Okay,
in C2, and that's why I-1 was chosen.
I mean, as a,
and that is.
It would not be allowed, period, as a permitted or. It's not listed.
Yeah.
So, John, I thought I heard you say that your 13,000 square foot warehouse was approved by Scio Township.
It was, but it was really approved, as Laura said, for personal use. And I've been, like, I'm storing student belongings in it in the summertime. So really from the end of April until the middle of August, I'm storing student belongings in it from University of Michigan students. I have the contract for student move out and student move in. And right now we're receiving hundreds of packages a day for students, and we receive them and relabel them and put them in their rooms. So, and then all the stuff that they left with me is in there right now, and, you know, it's all organized and ready to be delivered, and I bought the building and I bought the property in 2019 and was approved for it and had it completed. The wonderful Amish people built a really nice building for me. And yeah, it was ready for COVID, which was really amazing. We did not have the building, and then I told them we had one. The university is very grateful.
So you're saying the township approved?
They approved the building of the building, and what Laura is saying is, it wasn't understood at that time is that I would be using it in conjunction with my student storage business. It was really kind of like for personal use.
Uh-huh.
And so that, you know, she wanted that to be corrected, and I understand that.
And when was it approved by the township?
To be
What
built
year?
in 2019. It was approved, built and completed, and I think we had our final inspection in early 2020.
Any other questions?
I did have a question for Laura. Oh, I was just looking at your memo on page 4. It says that the area is mixed use, commercial. Is that as opposed to mixed use, commercial and residential?
So that's the designation in the master plan, that's the future land use classification,
I
so.
understand.
So that particular zone, master plan, future land use classification is tied to C2 as the most appropriate zoning category. But it also allows for C4, I1, and OS as part of a mixed use development. What I'm saying is, in addition to that, it's already adjacent to I1, to the south and west. And this is a property that has been, you know, it is along Jackson Road where there is already a mix of those types of uses.
Yeah, I mean, my question is really to interpret the master plan a little bit. That mixed use designation that you have
Yeah,
squared off there, is that mixed use commercial only? Different, in other words, different mixes of commercial as opposed to mixed use commercial residential.
it is intended to provide areas where a mix of commercial, office, industrial, and high density residential land uses are encouraged.
And there isn't any issue with the single family home remaining in that one.
No, I mean, it becomes a legal non-conforming use, and it can remain there in perpetuity as long as someone lives there and it's used as residential home. If in the future, John decides his property is more valuable as industrial commercial and he gets rid of that, then it would have to be, he'd have to come back for a conditional use for a mixed use type development or something. But it can remain there without.
Even though. So how did the house, how was it that the house was allowed to remain when the property was upgraded in 2019?
The property didn't change in 2019, it's zoned ag. And so he requested to build a large accessory structure on an ag zoned parcel for his personal use. That's what he requested. The classification has not changed, and now he's asking for it to be changed.
I understand that about the classification, but I thought that when we had non-conforming uses on properties, once they get.
There was,
Some improvement to the property or something like that, that the landowner had to.
in this case,
Address the
it
non-conforming
was zoned,
feature.
from our perspective, from the township's perspective at that time, it was a home.
Yeah,
And it had several outbuildings on it, and it was zoned agriculture. There was no indication that there were any businesses on that property in 2000.
so when it was approved in 2019, they left it as ag.
Yeah.
I see.
Thank you. And then we'll go ahead and open up for public comment at this point. Is there anyone in Township Hall that would like to address the planning commission about this project? Seeing none, we'll move online.
No.
Done.
Move to close public hearing.
Okay, well, so we'll discuss this, not, we do that under the pussies.
Support.
Okay, so we have, Hyde and Walsh, to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed at 8:05. Thank you, and, we'll take this up again in, new business.
At the end.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Moving ahead to our unfinished business. We have, possible action of a 25002 Piper Ridge, conditional rezoning to MR3. And if, I'd like to also invite the applicant forward.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I just gotta get my Zoom reset up here at close when I shut the computer down, so give me 1 second.
And while he's doing that, yeah, oh, are you all set?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I just raised my hand,
Yeah.
as panelist.
Yes.
Oh, and John, I just want to make sure you signed in. You did.
Where's my junk?
So thanks again, guys, for taking the time to hear our proposed Piper Ridge project. If you'll recall, I was in front of you guys on April 28th. And we presented a 67-unit townhome project. We received some feedback from Laura, in addition to a work session with you, Commissioner Culbertson and Hyde. And we believe we resubmitted a plan that meets some objectives of the township, and enhances the project. So with that, I'll just briefly go into a little bit about our organization.
Is this the townhouses?
Yes,
Okay.
on Parkland Plaza Drive. Yeah. A little bit of background on my house. We've been in business for a long time now, founded in 1976. We are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and we are the 13th largest builder in the United States by volume. Since we've been incorporated, we've built over 150,000 homes, and we built 9,000 homes across the country in 17 markets in 2024. Here locally, the Detroit division delivered over 300 homes last year, and we're a top 3 builder by volume in the Metro Detroit area. And that spans across Oakland County, Macomb County, Washtenaw, Wayne County, and a little bit of this. So the major revisions that we made to the plans subsequent to our first submittal were that we modified the plan so that there was 0 setback encroachment into the wetlands. We've confirmed that we exceed the number of required parking spaces for the project. We amended our plans to show pedestrian access along the future proposed Scio View property pathway that comes to the south, that ultimately will meet the southwest corner of our property. And we revised our grading and landscaping plans to reduce the number of woodland clearing impact. And we think we've done a pretty good job there. Taking into consideration the commissioner's comments to preserve more woodlands, we looked at regrading the property, specifically focusing on the northwest portion of the site, the south portion of the site, and the eastern portion of the site. And we were able to reduce the number of trees being removed by 20.7%. So the result of that was that we'll have a couple view out basements instead of all slabs, and more of the natural features on the side of the third. I'm showing again some of our proposed elevations here because in our previous meeting, Commissioner Hengel had expressed some concern about the proposed architecture being inconsistent with what the surrounding area has. So I wanted to touch base a little bit on that. So here you'll see renderings of the front elevations, the sides and rear, and then an image of this exact product currently being constructed in a community of ours in Indiana. So you'll see we put quite a bit of focus on the farmhouse theme. We put a lot of emphasis on our entryway and a sense of arrival when you come in the community. And again, it's in our best interest. Ultimately, we're the ones who have to sell homes and make homeowners happy. It's in our best interest to put our best foot forward, be good stewards of the land, and continue to deliver a product that homeowners want, that municipalities are in favor of, and that it can be an all-around enhancement to the community. So here is a rendering of an elevation of by Lombardo Homes. This is Scio view to the south, adjacent to the south of our property. And you'll notice, with the exception to potentially the window color, it's almost indistinguishable. Again, another elevation offered by Lombardo Homes. This is Gallery Park to the south. You'll notice the color packages are a little bit different, but thematically and aesthetically, they're very similar in the architectural side. Here is the Eagle Point multifamily rental property adjacent to the west of Piper Ridge. This is an older project, we acknowledge that, but we think that our proposed townhome elevations would be enhancement over this, as well as the Sunward co-housing, which is a little bit further west as well. So overall, I think we tried to do our best to take into consideration some of the commissioner's concerns. And Laura has reviewed our plans and has recommended for approval. And with that, I'll open the floor for any questions or commentary.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and get Laura's review and also any specific questions for the applicant about the changes?
I don't think this, I had no memory of this project, but you were here on April 28th, which is my birthday, and I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Okay, I just apologize. You're off of Parkland Plaza to the east.
Correct, east side of Parkland Plaza Drive.
Oh, okay. And does that flow into the Scio Ridge complex? Because you can get to that Scio Ridge complex. I'm sorry, Scio View complex.
It's directly to the north side. I can pull up.
It's directly to the north of Scio View along Parkland Plaza. They're connected via Parkland Plaza.
And and I apologize, I not looked at your drawings, but is there an open to walk freely between the two complexes?
So along the what would be the western boundary of Scio View, there's a proposed future sidewalk that runs north-south along the west side of Parkland Plaza Drive. What we're proposing to do is, since our property is located on the east side of Parkland Plaza Drive, is put a pedestrian crosswalk to the western property boundary of our site, which actually falls on the west side of Parkland Plaza Drive. And we're going to connect to we're proposing a sidewalk that will ultimately connect to the future Scio View proposed sidewalk.
So just to give a little bit more reference, the applicant is requesting a conditional rezoning from PUD planned unit development to MR3 multiple family residential. This is the former Parkland Plaza senior living site that was originally approved a long time ago, 2018, I'm not sure, but pre-COVID. It was originally a 95 unit, 55 plus age community with one structure. And the applicant is proposing a maximum of 67 units in 13 separate buildings with a single point of access from Parkland Plaza. As Brad noted, we did meet with him. He demonstrated the changes that he had made to help accommodate the Planning Commission's comments regarding the tree removal, impervious surface, and then issues noted in our report. One of the things Brad didn't mention that's new, there is a sixth condition that they added to this proposal. On page 4 at the very top, the sixth condition is that MI Homes will provide solar power and electric vehicle charging capability for each townhome unit to allow future homeowners the flexibility to add these features if they so choose. So originally you had 5 conditions, now you have 6 that are being offered voluntarily by the applicant. As this is a conditional rezoning, all conditions have to be voluntarily offered. We can't add additional conditions unless it's agreed upon, but they really need to be voluntarily offered. So those are the 6 that would go along with this project and this rezoning, and should be read into the record. And you have an example motion that has those, if you so choose to make a motion this evening. And I'm happy to answer any questions on my report.
Any questions for Laura?
I have one.
Yes, Bob.
So Laura, the comment was made, or the observation was made that there are 8.7 units per acre in their proposed plan. So it's over, well, let's see. MR3 allows up to 10 per acre, but the master plan is set for 8 maximum right now. That's not a zoning issue, that's the master plan issue. So there's no conflict there?
No, it meets the zoning. The zoning is the law that we follow.
If we rezone it to MR3, and then they're allowed up to 10.
Correct.
So if we rezone it to MR3, we are allowing more than we had in the master plan.
Well, as part of the PUD that was approved, there were 95, and that was much greater than the 8.8.
But that's not the master plan we're talking about. There's some differences between the two plans. If we want to talk about
Yes.
that, I have, there's a lot more surrounding open space in the one large building in the center versus these that are even pushing out to the borders and taking out more trees than the 95 units we're going to be requiring. So there are things about this plan that are trouble to me. So
Thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner. I have a question for the applicant, but I just thought I would apologize. Is there, in your plans, is there playground or what we call placemaking arrangements for people in the community you're creating?
Yeah, currently, we do not show that, but it's something that we would certainly consider. I think that that's something that we can, if the commission would be open to it, something that we could discuss at site plan review. But there is a centrally located green space where we've had substantial tree plantings that I think we could probably accommodate a sidewalk, potentially some benches, and some overall just general activity in the space.
So general activity space, what would that be?
I mean, probably the better term is activation of the open space. So, we could put like you don't have a plan in front of us, but pull up back to my presentation here. So I think that in here between buildings 10, 11, 12, and 13, we could have potentially had some walking trails throughout here. May impact some of the plantings here, but if there was a desire of the planning commission and the township board, I think that's something that we would be amenable to.
Question, is that something that, I mean, is this something that they're offering freely, or how do we?
No, I mean, that's really a site plan, that's a
Right.
site plan issue. I mean, this is a rezoning. They demonstrated the conditions that they would like to go along with the rezoning to MR3. You will see this back through site plan review, so that is a conversation for site plan. The more detailed,
Mhm.
site items would be discussed at that time.
And the conditional rezoning is basically for this plan, is that
It's for this general, yes, this general layout, the
layout?
number of
number-
units, the number of buildings, the
no
location of
place
those. No, not necessarily.
So as you know, I've expressed before in meetings, that I have a problem approving things for which we do not have. I get the site plan review piece, but I'd hate to get to the site plan. Stage of things and say, this is not movable at all. So I think that would not be fair to the applicant.
Well, if you don't think this layout is workable, then this is where you would say that. But if you're talking about this is an okay layout and you're okay with the number of units and you're okay with the number of buildings, and generally speaking, you think this is an okay development, then that's different than, saying you'd like to have a playscape or you'd like to see, additional plantings or, some other site thing. That would be more detail oriented towards the site plan review. I mean, we haven't done real deep dive into the natural feature, those types of things.
Sure. I just, at the very least, I wanted to put the applicant on notice that that's the kind of stuff that we're looking at with these new developments. So we have all these complexes that are being built, nothing for people to do unless they drive somewhere else to go. And so that's some of the thinking in terms of planning for us, from our perspective.
Yes.
Well, it's off of Commissioner Moore's statement, that's where I'm concerned too. We had requested that the applicant consider reducing the number of buildings. And I know you want to propose these two-story townhouse setups, but if you went higher, like the PUD was approved, you could go to fewer buildings and have more space between them. And so there are ways to get the same number of units in or more without taking up the whole site with buildings and pavement and give families places to play. Now, I know you're connected to the woods, to Saginaw Forest. You're connected to the other developments. So the kids could go on the sidewalks, but that doesn't mean they can go to a park. So that's where I think Commissioner Moore and I are in agreement. So this says 67 units max. So during site plan review, they can't go over it, but they could go under that.
Yes.
They could easily, if this were approved with this language, does the suggested plan override the words, meaning this is the way it's gonna look?
Not necessarily.
Okay,
I mean, I think they're telling you this is how they want it to look.
this is how they want to do it. But if in the site plan review, we say we want something different, is that allowed? Or do we have to say it right now?
I think you have to say it right now.
That's precisely why I'm saying it.
Right,
I mean, and mostly I don't want, because I get this all the time. This is just this is not the site plan review, et cetera, but I just think it's not fair to you or any other applicant to bring all these, my wish list later on, so.
Oh, I understood. And I think I can go back and confer with my team and we can find a way to incorporate some open space that would be usable for the residents. I can go on record and say that I don't know if I can commit to what that looks like specifically, because there's some re-engineering and grading involved, and I don't want to speak out of school without doing the proper investigation, but I will commit to some sort of additional amenitization on site for during the site plan review process, and I took all your feedback at that time.
Yeah, I think we need to go to OHM briefly. Yeah, and I think, yes, so Stacy this evening?
Yes, I'm here. So we recommended this plan that you're seeing in our review letter from June 27th, as it's anticipated to be compatible with the existing infrastructure nearby. We didn't provide any site plan comments at this review stage, but I did want to mention that the proposed use is anticipated to use less REUs than the previously proposed Parkland Plaza Senior Living. So that's a good thing. There was 95 proposed with Parkland Plaza Senior Living, and with the 67 units shown today, then they would need 67 REUs. So if you have any engineering related questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Stacy? All right, and please note, we did have a prior review as well with no objections. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Moore.
So I guess one other concern that I'm flagging for myself here is how many acres is the project?
I believe from that 7.7.
7.7 acres. And how much of the area would be built on, that's with building and cement?
Yeah, I believe we're at like 46% open space here, 3.55 acres of open.
46% open space?
Yeah.
And you said 3.55?
3.55 acres out of the net 7.7.
There's quite a bit of perimeter open space. That's
That calculation is shown on the plans.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we talk about natural features?
Yep.
So I reviewed your tree survey. 99% of these trees are protected. There's almost zero invasive species. This looks like a very healthy woodlot that is being eliminated. Which was not part of the prior plan, since it was all centralized. I think that's a huge loss to the township. I would like to see this more consolidated. Those are healthy trees with a considerable amount of age. They're not necessarily legacy trees, but they're good size.
Other comments from,
So part of that open space then is that you cut down these trees to make an open space.
Right.
Yeah, and. Doesn't seem like a fair trade-off to me, but that's my opinion.
I would also,
Commissioner Walsh.
I would also like to make a comment along that line that when it was said that there's perimeter open space, the retention pond and to the west, the wetlands to the south, the wetland to the south are part of that open space. Well, I don't know if the retention pond qualifies, but that's what's on the northwestern side of the buildings. And to the north and east, it's right up to the setbacks. To the north, there's a parking lot and then an industrial building. So it's going to be, all the trees are going to be removed on the north side, and then you're going to replant a row of trees to make up for that. I'm not quite sure that one row of trees is going to be much screening for those northern buildings. That's another concern. But if people want that, they will move in. So it's not ideal. As Commissioner Grant said to remove trees in order to build and then replant where you can. And then most of it is going into our tree fund instead of back onto the property. There's not enough room after you put the houses in, put the trees back. It's not quite as good as what Kathleen is, as you said, Kathleen, you can't put back because the houses are.
Can you, I have just a question a little bit, can you kind of describe, I mean, is there fencing and retaining walls? You have a screen fence along the north property line along with those. With the trees. Right, so the intent is to use the fence and then trees on the inside to screen from the I2, is that?
Yeah, there are, correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, but I don't believe there are any, we don't show any retaining walls on site. And we're staying completely out of the wetland to the south. The trees that you see along the north, the east, and the additional trees planted along the south and along the green belt are just for overall aesthetic appeal for the residents. And the marketability of the site, just to make the stuff, make the site.
And then can you describe what is the XX and the solid, very solid line along the south end, and it kind of wraps around what that is designating?
Sorry, show me on the
I
map.
think that's the setback for the,
Okay.
I think it's a setback.
Which page
Is
are
that
you on?
what that is? I'm on the, let's see what page of the drawing. It's.
Landscape.
I'm on the landscape plan.
Right,
Is that the wetland boundary that is delineated there?
South.
yeah. Actually, it goes up the east side too,
It's
so
the
that
buffer,
can't.
it's the set wetland buffer.
Wetland buffer.
Yeah, there isn't a legend that says what the lines are.
If you go to the existing condition.
Right. That's what I was remembering, was like that was the setback.
Yeah, I believe if you go to the overall layout plan, you'll see the setback, and that was one of the original comments was that, we had some encroachment that just because we had misread the ordinance, we thought it was a 25-foot setback, and we were corrected, it was a 30-foot, so we revised our plan for you.
I have another question for Laura. One of the conditions is that the township maintain these 6 parking spaces. That's not a condition on the applicant.
That was a condition that was agreed upon during the PUD.
Okay.
So it's a carryover from the Parkland Plaza.
And those are the 6 spaces that are for the access to park space.
Yes.
That sidewalk has.
Some of the plans don't, did you update? Let me see what page this is. There's a page that shows the natural site surrounding area, and then you're in the center, and then you've got a blow up of that in the lower right. It appears to be sheet 09 of your presentation. Does that match your grading, your current grading plan, or is that a carryover from the August submission?
No, that would be reflective of the
No.
new, that would be the new, yeah.
This is the new one?
Yep.
So, what I was thinking, so, was that line appears to be a grading line.
And what it is they also can't grade beyond that. They can't change the
It
grade.
drops off from there down to the wet. But I thought you had regraded it so that some of the townhouses were set lower.
That's correct, yeah, that's correct, that's basically along the, I believe it's building 9, 8, 7. Initially, we were grading
So that doesn't look like-
further towards the south and building up those pads so that they would be flat. Now we're keeping more of the natural features, and because of that, the grade falls off, so you're left with a grade at the street, which is higher than the grade at the rear of the yard, which requires a different fix.
Good, I'm not reading this drawing right, that's probably all.
Yeah, and it still requires grading, but it's not the extent of the
Right.
grading.
It drops off towards the south.
Correct.
And you're gonna keep part of that drop off and then the townhouses would be set lower.
The rear yards would be lower, the front.
So they have
Okay,
a
so the
buffer.
front,
Yeah,
okay,
it's not, we don't have the grade here for a walkout, but it would be
But
like
yeah,
a
view,
view out, yeah,
and they'd have decks instead of patio.
correct.
so just to reiterate where my comments were coming from was that we had originally asked that we consider fewer units. Fewer buildings and then work whatever magic you wanted to make the number of units where you wanted to request that. But you chose not to, and you met some of our other requests, or you agreed to some of the other requests, but not that one. That's leading to open space issues, in my opinion.
A question, so it looks like, you know, you have a couple of like 8 and 9 are you put more units together. Okay, and when you do that, you know, the open space sort of around it could be considered more useful than just having the 30 feet in between units. Did you look at all at doing that with some of the other units to you know, kind of make some of the open spaces larger between the buildings and not having it, you know, the smaller spaces that aren't as useful in between?
Are you suggesting like on units, let's call it our buildings 5, 6, and 7, like taking taking the end units and just making larger buildings?
Or, and, you know, also, I think you have, you know, you don't gain much with doing that with 3 and 4. I'm just thinking about how you distribute the open space to make it more usable, and easier to, have active spaces for the residents. I don't know what, you know, how you approach things. And if there was any additional trees that could be saved by doing that.
Yeah, I don't know that there would be additional trees saved just by virtue of, because that the area still would need to be graded. We have to grade the rear yards. I can take a look at it. I can take it really it looks like 5, 6, and 7. Potentially there could be some pickup, but I don't know for sure. Is that something that we could look at site plan, Laura? Is that something that needs to be determined now?
It's gonna be up to them.
Yeah, my concern is that, like Commissioner Moore said, if we're doing a conditional use and we are shown this site plan and then they come back in with this site plan without making changes, and we've agreed to it, can we then say no? And that becomes a problem.
Can I? just-
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the, what I'm hearing is multifamily is appropriate here. I think it's the product. I think they're looking for a different style of building, building that provides a different unit layout that would have less impact on the total buildable area. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be one building, but I think that's what I'm hearing. Is that wrong?
It doesn't have to be
That
one
makes
building.
sense.
So I think, I don't know what MI Homes offered as far as product, or if there is another product that you think would work here. I know, this is a single family home builder, right? Or, these are townhomes, but these are meant to be sold. This isn't an apartment. So this is a different type of unit than what was originally proposed here. And I think that's the disconnect for the board.
And I'm fine.
Fine.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure it makes a difference if it's rental or purchase in terms of placemaking. In terms of having a playground. For me, but,
I'm saying the unit type, for sale unit type is different than an apartment unit type, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A question, do you ever do, more of a condo type that would have flats or something that would be more stacked?
No, that-
You do,
That's, no, we don't, that's product that we don't offer. We do attached townhome product and detached single family product. We don't do across our 17 markets. We don't do any stacked, like stacked, flat stacked condo.
well, we're very interested in residential building. To put a positive note on today's meeting, so I don't want to discourage you in that regard, because the planning commissions. And the township, just like all the other communities, want more housing. So, I don't think that's a problem, I think. Just some of the things that you've heard commissioners say, that's just some of the concerns, and so.
I just wanna, take a temperature a little bit on, I mean, I think all of us agree that that the placemaking part is really important, and I think you've addressed the connectivity. And you did hear, I think, I wasn't here at that meeting either, a little bit of the concern about the woodlands. Did you, when you were looking at it, did you look at what kind of unit reduction would have to be made to, even eliminate some of the, even more of the, or save more of the trees, I guess.
I mean, at some point, but that was we took the feedback of, initially, and we did our best to take that into consideration. At some point, the project feasibility becomes a factor. And we look at this on every project. I think at the end of the day, the math has to work for both us and for the current landowner, and ultimately for the residents. And as you get to a certain point where we run the risk of not being able to sell a product for an appropriate the price point that we target. So all those things are taken into consideration when we start to conceptualize a project. And again, we took into consideration, I think, a 20% reduction in the number of trees removed is substantial. I know, there's always desire for as much woodland preservation as possible, but I know we just try to find the happy medium between natural feature preservation and project overall viability.
I mean, basically what you're saying is if you reduce the number of units, the unit price goes up, and at what point is it at that the market?
That's correct, and that's what happened actually with the current owners, so they had the same issue. At one point, the project was feasible, and then after COVID, with general inflation, with labor rate inflation, with inflation, and with general rental rates in the area, the project became non-viable for them.
Can I ask you a question? What is your target buyer,
So our target buyer is young professionals
young professionals?
and young families. So first time buyers coming from a rental community or moving out from their parents, maybe after a new wedding, or they just got their first job with foreseeable upward trajectory in their income. And we'd be looking to build new and to offer new construction in the township with a great school district in the low to mid 400,000s, and that's something that does not exist anywhere else in this area.
Understand. Feedback?
Go ahead.
When you talk about placemaking, I might be a different type of person, but placemaking to me can absolutely be these woods. That if you consolidate the properties, everything around it then becomes like a park. Because that's essentially what the previous PUD was doing. Are these condo units? Who maintains the lawns?
The homeowners association would maintain all general common element, which would be anything outside of the exterior of the structures, as well as the roads and any landscaped open space. That would be maintained by the HOA.
Right, so these are not homeowners that are interested in getting out their lawnmower, weed whacking, adding shrubs, that kind of stuff. So I don't see why you couldn't put them closer together. Doesn't seem like they're not looking for a yard per se as a patio.
Yeah, and actually there've been quite a few studies done, one done recently in Troy, where they surveyed millennials and the more recent generation, and they're surprisingly more interested in doing other recreational activities besides maintaining a lawn. That's why you're seeing a drive for, generally speaking, smaller lot sizes in the majority of markets. It was a surprising result that I think surprised a lot of people, a lot of surveyors, but that is the general direction that the millennial and younger generations are moving towards.
Go ahead. I'm just thinking, Kathleen, what would you deem successful as far as maintaining more of the woodlands? They made an initial effort, and also, knowing that, if this is the type of market that we're interested in bringing in more young people and families into, and the low to mid 400s is about the entry level.
I don't necessarily put credence in those numbers. Those numbers always seem to go up substantially.
They go up, but I mean, knowing that if there are fewer units, then the price per unit does go up. Just looking at the sort of initial pro forma.
Not a 1-to-1,
No,
because you're not putting as many.
no, but you have fewer
Right.
units that you're
Yeah.
sort of amortizing all of the site improvements over. And,
I have another question on page
Yeah.
3 of your site drawing. The wetland that you want to eliminate, it says it has a 25-foot law. So is this whole thing mostly about grading and taking away the natural undulations of this property? Because 25 feet seems
I'm not sure.
extreme, and that's where building 1 would be.
I think it's he shows the 25-foot buffer
Oh, buffer.
but they're,
Oh, sorry, that's my dyslexia.
yeah, it's a buffer,
I thought it
but,
said buff.
but that wetland is not regulated by the township or by Eagle.
Yeah, and so that's, sorry.
Yeah, we're not, destroying that much of the natural topography. Yeah, but I'm just, I think that it's a good discussion to have about the trade-off between, affordability, open space, the quality of the natural features, that type of.
We've had quite a bit of resident pushback on, essentially clear cutting woodlots. I can cite Arbor's Grove. We've had a lot of resident pushback from eliminating those natural features.
I have a question for you.
Yes. Okay.
So Laura, is it now or at site plan review, there would be a site plan review stage, if it was rezoned. Is it at this stage or that stage that we would talk about, the setbacks and the decks or slash patios that would be into the setback, that would be allowed into it?
So that would be site plan, but it appeared to me that they met all the ordinance requirements.
Okay.
A deck is allowed to go in the rear setback and a patio can go into the side,
But no building structure.
but no buildings or structures.
Okay, so it's the back side of the buildings that has the decks and patios. I see.
Correct.
Yeah,
Some of you guys are where the driveway.
Right.
okay.
So just looking at the, sort of the aerial, I mean, the majority of the woodlands that are impacted are really, it's kind of building 7 and part of building 6.
But for the detention basin, they're taking out the northwest tree.
Yeah, the northwest,
This is Google Maps, so this is,
in the northwest,
they're taking all that out.
I think page
As
3
well
is
as-
a good representation of
Mhm.
removing trees and replanting.
And is there? Okay, so you're thinking, I mean, this is just, and I didn't look at the topography, but we have had, where the center space is more of the sort of detention and natural, making the detention a natural feature, right? Coming through the units. Does grade permit you to do something else with the detention basin so that more of that woodlot goes?
So typically, not just generally speaking, when you develop property, you want to look for the low point on the
Yeah.
site for your detention, and you also want to confirm that there's an outlet, or that once the stormwater collects in the.
And it's
the
going
detention.
into the storm at the street.
Correct.
But there would be storm throughout the project, wouldn't there?
Yeah, there's a network of storm sewer will run through the community, ultimately outlet into the detention basin. From the detention basin, it would outlet into a natural, either drain or water course.
And it's
At a rate that's.
Right, that would be improved over the.
it's all gravity storm drainage. So that's why you have to put the townhouses all at the relative
That's why you
same
look for the
level.
low, that's why you look for the low point in the site.
Yeah. Why you regrade everything.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard you say multifamily, not just single adults.
So, are you asking what product we build or what is the,
Yeah, so these units will be 2-3 bedrooms or
either all 3 bed?
all 3 bedrooms?
All 3 bedroom minimum, we offer, all 3 bedroom minimum.
And it's anticipated that some people will have kids.
The typical buyer that we see with families is young families with like 1 or 2 young children. Although, and that's in markets where school districts are not necessarily the best. where they don't have to worry about, the public schools because the children are young. In this case, we would envision, to a certain extent, families wanting to live here in it for as long as their children, matriculate to the schools, just given how good Ann Arbor schools are. And again, that just all kind of depends on, sub-market, what your retail price, what you think you can sell homes for from a retail standpoint. And then just the general school districts. So in this case, we're fortunate to have a lot of good factors.
We have another issue, but it
Go ahead.
was something that I wanted to wait until the end, so until people had a chance. I think it's on your sheet. 02, that's what I wrote in my notes, but I'm having a trouble. There's 02. There's monitoring wells mentioned.
Yep.
Can you tell me what that's all about?
Sure. So this site is located within the Gelman Plume and within the western boundary of Gelman Plume. There are a handful of monitoring wells on site. There are 2 monitoring wells that have detected dioxin. One of which is trending downwards, that is just slightly above the criteria. And I've spoken with the gentleman who installed these wells and who's responsible for the ongoing monitoring of the wells. And the direction from him was the ones that have no dioxin, that have had no dioxin detected for the last 15-20 years will just be abandoned. And he'll determine at the time of development, based on the most current reading, whether in fact all of them need to be abandoned. If there's one that doesn't need to be abandoned, he and I have identified where it would be relocated to. So we've addressed that substantially.
Well, thank you for that answer. And so Laura, my question would be, if these are court-ordered monitoring wells, what process do we have to go through? He's just describing what he thinks the process is.
Yeah, so we have it. It goes up on the chain of title. It's a restrictive covenant, and the condition of the restrictive covenant is that we need to allow access in perpetuity for the monitoring of the wells, should they remain on the site.
Right. So
And our site plan is designed around.
So they wouldn't have to be relocated, or they would?
Well, I believe there's 5 on site. 4 are going to be abandoned, and the one, if he determines that he wants to. So the rate of parts per billion has been steadily decreasing over the last 40 years, to the point where he may make the determination that based on the trajectory that it's taking place over they do a test every quarter, that it may be unnecessary to keep that monitoring well on site based on the proposed or the anticipated trajectory.
Well, I attend all the card meetings.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that saying that the dioxin concentrations are trending downward is in general a good summary, but it's not. So anyway,
On
who
this
is
site,
this he?
I
And
can't
I don't
speak
know
on
who
that.
he is, and it doesn't really matter. You don't need to know.
Sure.
But if it's involving the CJ4, I think is the current one. The courts are responsible for saying whether things can happen or not. So I just wanted to know how we go about allowing plans that say relocate a monitoring well. Who do we have to talk to? Who has to say?
Well, we'd have to talk to Kathy, Noel, and Mariah first, because I don't play any role in those conversations.
Okay.
But from there, we have, at some point when the site plan comes in, we have some expert.
Yeah.
Township expert to review that information.
So at site plan review time, we
Yes.
would make sure we address that.
Yes.
The same, I can.
I have a question for you, Bob. So you've now alerted me, I guess I missed the nuance, this is in the Gelman Plume.
Oh, yeah.
So all of this grading, how does that impact the plume?
Nothing. That's groundwater, that's deep underground.
Yeah, it's 80 foot below grade is where the diet's gonna be detected.
So surface runoff isn't going to affect the plume. In general, I mean, I don't want to sound like that's cut and dry, but.
Yeah, that's said from somebody who is in the path of the spread of the plume.
Well, you know that this Saginaw
I
Woods,
was gonna say,
Saginaw Forest was where the first reading was taken in the pond, in the sister lake there, and
Yep.
this is next door, so it's in the plume.
Yeah.
There's also a trail that shows up in these drawings. I don't know what that it refers to. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you see it?
Trail along the western property.
Just above the monitoring wells, I'm looking at sheet 02 again. On two of the monitoring wells that will be relocated, it comes in the northeast corner and it swoops down into the central area and it just is marked a trail. I don't know what that is.
I think it's just,
a ditch.
hardly access to the wells, the one well is right on the property line there. Not maintained, they really just how people have driven on it.
Oh, that's, yeah, it probably, it comes right to those two.
It does come
monitoring
down,
wells.
that's two of them.
Yeah,
I hadn't associated it with.
I had verification from Kathy was watching our meetings, and she said Eagle has the final say on placement of any monitoring. So during site plan review,
Thank you,
if
Kathy.
they're relocated, that's when
They would have, Eagle would have to.
Eagle would approve the location of the
Yeah, and as part of our site plan submittal, I have a letter from Eagle stating that as long as we maintain the access in perpetuity, that there's no risk to health and safety. I have that, but a letter from Eagle, a signed letter from Eagle, indicating that they have no issue with a development of a project. No issue with the development of a residential project. And it would not impact health and human safety.
As long as
we allow
retain access to the well.
Correct, and I mean, that's part of the consent judgment, part of Richard Cummings.
Right, so it's saying to be relocated, Eagle didn't agree to that yet.
I can't recall the gentleman's name. It's been since February since we've talked about this, but I believe it's Eagle's consultant who confirmed this, and I can get you that information. I'm trying to search through my email. I can't locate it at the time.
I think Laura said it during site plan review, we just have to have that assurance.
Yeah, we will. Yep.
so it seems like. Okay, I'd like to summarize it in this way. There's, the biggest concerns are still the amount of relatively healthy and connected woodlands that are being removed. And that the center of the site is relatively clear. And the product, which is housing that the site continues to need for younger professionals coming in. It's providing that product. But it sounds like it'd be very difficult to improve dramatically the percent of the trees that are being proposed to come down. I mean, and maintaining the number of units. So I'm sort of seeing this as a decision of is this an appropriate product for this site? An apartment that could be more concentrated in the center would keep more of the woodlands. it would be a totally different. Yeah, product and, so I think that's more of the decision. To weigh this type of product versus. The apartment and which could be even higher density, but in a different fashion. Other commissioners haven't said either. Their thoughts.
Mine is simply, we need housing. This lot's gonna be developed one way or the other at some point. Which probably means a lot of the trees are potentially gonna come down, particularly if it's going to be single family, whether it's townhouses or homes. If we're talking about high density in the master plan. This is high density. What else are we gonna be looking for? I think it's to the applicant's best interest to have some sort of family residential area for barbecues, picnics or whatever. I think that makes it more marketable for the audience he's looking for. So I think that'll come with site plan. I'm still back to the point of what's our vision for high density residential? Because that's what the site or the master plan calls for.
It calls for 4 to 8. The master plan calls for between 4 and 8.
Yeah.
Units per acre.
This is
Yeah.
something.
About,
He's 8.7.
right, this is just about it,
But, okay,
just saying.
no, but
You're
this
right.
is my thought process is. We want this to be high density residential. What's our vision for it? I don't think you get the same demographic buyer if you start stacking. And then that gets into, do we have the safety capability if we start stacking? So ladder trucks have always been brought up.
Oh, we have one on order.
And we just need that, and we just need the fire station to put it in.
So I get what you're saying, Commissioner Walsh, is that the trade-offs, they're always trade-offs.
Yes.
And, I do think that this is, this particular site is more family oriented than a site that would be a higher density, perhaps on Jackson. Like quality 16 site and possibly the Malloy site, those types of, developments. Commissioner Fletcher, thoughts?
And feel like you do, there's gonna be trade-offs somewhere and they're gonna have to remove trees, but it looks like you plant some too, and no, they're not gonna be mature and big and beautiful overnight, but we gotta start somewhere kind of thing. And I think that what he's proposing is probably better than apartments. You're getting people that are buying versus people that are just tenants with a higher turnover. It's not a huge piece of property and, you know.
I'm inclined to agree with both of these commissioners, but I am concerned about the placemaking stuff, so you need to work on that.
Yeah. It's not understood, and again, I will put on record, he will,
More than a path, I mean, we need playground, something.
yeah, understood.
Pickleball court, something.
Well, little kids don't get into pickleball.
The
But,
younger generation is getting into it.
yeah,
More than-
that's right, the young
Yeah.
professionals are.
But it's easier to play than tennis.
Sure, it's easier when you're used to.
And frankly, I'd be willing, if you made the commitment, that the site plan would come back with some active recreation, placemaking.
That active recreation.
Yeah, suitable for young professionals and families. I'm inclined to think that that's a suitable. use of the property.
And am I understanding correctly where the gravel lot's gonna be in the 6 spaces, that's access directly into Saginaw Forest, right?
So my computer died on me unfortunately, but
Let us know where you're looking.
yeah, so on page 1. You'll see in the southwest corner of the site, those 6 parking spots. There's so on our southern property boundary, south of our property boundary, there's a future proposed sidewalk that connects the side. That's not currently not constructed because there's still some homes to be built there, and it would just end up getting ripped out if it were constructed now. So once obviously we'll construct our common space, our common area sidewalks during the development. And once those homes have been constructed inside of you, that connection will be made.
Is there a way for people to get from, or will there be a way for residents, for example, to get from this particular parcel into the forest without having to drive around?
I would have to check.
You know,
I'm not
out to
sure
the
what,
road?
I haven't studied
Okay.
in depth the kind of connectivity in the.
Because there are gates, I've been in there's gates and things that people use to access that from the forest, from property outside of the forest, so I'm just
They don't-
curious.
The gates are not for the public, that's just for the university to do research.
Do you remember, Laura, I'm trying to remember what those, because they were specifically for access to
I don't,
some preserve.
yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to look back.
But it is for public access.
It is for public access.
And so the sidewalk connection to that, so you wouldn't have to, you know, it's easy to walk to whatever access those parking spaces.
Yeah, and actually to the north as well, we've made a pedestrian crosswalk to connect the sidewalk on the west side, Park Drive. On page 1, just the left of the frame.
I think there's someone back here that knows the answer to the question.
Although I'm not ordinarily allowed to speak.
But please do, we have a question that needs answering. Thank you.
So I'm Linda Smith from Scio. In our PUD, we do have public access into the Saginaw Woods. This 8.8 to 2 acre parcel is adjacent to the property that is owned by All Life Sciences, the woods that backs up to this on its eastern boundary. The wetland that you see to the south of this property is actually what would be the back delineating east-west for Saginaw Woods. If you were to walk from this property along Parkland Plaza, it becomes Grosbeak Drive, it becomes a site of the development. And then circle around the south side of the natural wetland that's delineated on the edge of his drawing. There is a public access into the woods at that, and it's not drivable, it's a walkable. It circles around between the detention pond and the wetland system pond. There's some green space.
So
and then
that
there's
is-
a gate
that-
into
This
the-
is the wetlands and she's.
Up here.
The sidewalk comes down, it's going to come down the west side of Scio through, well. We're getting multiple people.
There is a public access, you have to walk, you decide to, you have to walk slightly, and
So you have to go south and then go,
Along Park
600 feet, and then you have to go east to front, and then
down Scio.
and this was our opportunity to provide public parking for that access, which is a little ways away from the actual access, so, got it.
Let's do it.
Is
So
there
it
any
is a
public
walkable.
parking? Is there any public parking in Scio View?
free parking.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda, that was appropriate. Okay, other? So I hear, I mean, I would support it with that commitment. And I know as you move forward in the site plan, you've heard us about, you know, every tree is precious. And also, I wanted to alert you that we are updating our landscape ordinance. You might want to take a look at how we are updating that. And I also want to appreciate the, the idea of including the solar and the EV charging as part of the option.
And the outdoor activity
And then,
space.
yeah.
I think that's a issue. So we'll be looking at the site plan if we pass it.
If we pass it, yeah. So, it's, I know, Kathleen, you still have concerns.
Yeah, I would rather see this development outward looking than in. I think the woodlands is a very nice recreational area.
Again, today we're approving
The rezoning.
conditional rezoning with a suggested site plan that we have problems that we're seeing. Not everybody's seeing it the same way, but some of us have some concerns. And what happens when the site plan comes back in? We can voice those concerns again.
I would just say, if you're not comfortable with this layout and this building product, then you should not vote for
Thank you.
this development. If you are okay with it, then you would make a recommendation to them. Either way,
It's a
just go to the
recommendation.
board as a recommendation.
Thoughts on a motion, because I sort of sense that there are. I think. I mean, a 3-3 won't be a recommendation, we have to. It would have to be.
Well, if you go to the board as a 3-3,
It isn't a
3-3 is not a recommendation.
so that would not progress.
Welcome.
Well, we'll find out.
So the other option would be that you would postpone until you have 7. Which would not be your next meeting, because your next meeting you only have 4. So it would be August 11th. Would be the next opportunity to have 7. That we're not, I don't know, but that'll be 7. That's the next opportunity.
Don't read mine, Phil. I understand you saying it looks like it might be through. I don't know that.
Oh, there's only really one way to find out.
Right.
People just kind of, they say which direction they're moving. Start with.
Where the unit.
I'm leaning towards the previous plan, the PUD that's centrally focused. Moving toward the.
Leaning toward you.
Yeah,
I'm leaning toward you.
and I mean, so it sounds like it might not be a tie.
Then,
But
yes. But, yeah.
Yes. This is the adult world we live in. I'm looking at the motion, the proposed motion, and we can put
You could not add anything to that.
It's conditional.
It's a conditional rezoning that has to be offered by the applicant.
oh, well,
So
then
you
I'm a
can't-
nay. Cause I want some place making. One way I get that is a different site plan, so.
It does sound.
Well, if I offered a condition,
You can offer a condition.
if I offer a condition to be included in the motion, or added to our conditions, where we would commit to an active, what we'll call it, an active recreational space for the residents.
I can move that.
So 7 conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still.
Yeah. Would you, Commissioner Wall, would you
Before,
Or,
I just want to make sure we get seventh condition correct.
So I wrote applicant commits to active recreational space for residents in the community. To incorporate, applicant commits to incorporate active recreational space for residents in the community.
Is that specific enough, or is that?
Well, it gives us then the opportunity to review it in the site plan, see.
And you're saying to review it to determine if it does meet the definition.
No, if we,
They're
oh, I see. You mean if they have, bowling lane down the middle of the green space, that, no, I think we could pass judgment. I hope. These conditional reviews are a little different.
Yes. All right. One for the staff.
okay,
Based upon the information received from the applicant and reflected in the minutes of this meeting, the planning commission finds the proposed Piper Ridge conditional rezoning from PUD plan unit development to MR-3 meets the informational requirements of section 36-461. The factors found in section 36-462 of the zoning ordinance, the conditional rezoning requirements of section 36-436, and recommends approval with the following limited, permitted, and conditional uses offered as conditions presented by the applicant. A, property may only be developed for residential type townhomes and related accessory structures and amenities. B, maximum number of residential town home units on the property shall be 67. C, per the recorded development agreement for the Parkland Plaza residential community. Is it MI homes? MI homes will install pedestrian and non-motorized access to the land owned by Scio Development Air LLC. Side view. D, per the recorded development agreement for the Parkland Plaza residential community, UI Homes will install a 6-space gravel vehicle parking lot at the southwest corner of the property to enable a connection to the Saginaw Forest nature area through the Saginaw View property. Side view. E, per the recorded development agreement for the Parkland Plaza residential community, township shall be responsible for maintenance of the gravel vehicle parking lot after installation by MI Homes. And MI Homes shall dedicate the gravel parking lot to the township after completion of construction. F, MI Homes will provide solar power and electric vehicle charging capacity for each townhome unit to allow future homeowners flexibility to add these two features if they so choose. And I guess G, the applicant has conditioned themselves, or how do you want to commit to this? The applicant commits to, let's see,
Incorporate
Incorporate.
active recreational space.
the applicant. G would be the applicant commits to
Incorporate.
incorporating additional
Active recreation
active recreation space
for the community.
for the community.
is there support?
I'll support.
So, proposed by Commissioner Moore, supported by Commissioner Walls. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Walsh, yes. Fletcher,
Yes.
Brand,
No.
Moore,
Yes.
Hyde,
No.
Culbertson.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-2.
Thank you, guys. I promise we'll work together and find something that's comfortable for everyone.
No. You,
Yes.
Point out, Arbor Landing is similar to the recreational. There's, you know, go bring in anything else. I don't know if I should- Step up.
You can.
Amazing.
Sir?
Yes.
Do you know Arbor Landings, which is in Ann Arbor, just at the west side where 94 and M14 split? So it's bordered by Dexter Road on the north.
Making a
And,
note of this.
yeah, well, Arbor Landings has an outdoor recreation space built into it, and it's quite similar in terms of townhouses. And how it is oriented. And people like living there right here.
Let's take a look first thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next order of business is the chicken ordinance. However, it came to our attention that Laura's updated proposed wording was not uploaded into the packet, and we did receive additional correspondence from Commissioner Moore. And I just propose that we take those under consideration. Since we didn't have well, we kind of an opportunity to really review what we need to
Yeah,
discuss.
sorry, I thought.
That's okay, well, we postpone. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Okay, so by consensus, we're gonna postpone the chicken ordinance, and so we're gonna move to our new business. And we postponing it to our next meeting. Well, there are only 4 of us, so maybe the
We'll put it on the next agenda that we have available
spot.
spot.
Okay. New business, this is site plan, 25007, Victory Headquarters Edition. Hey, the applicant, come forward, please. Welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure. Thank you very much for having us this evening. My name is Roger Olson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Victory Automotive Group. Victory runs a number of dealerships throughout the country, just under 60 at current count. Our headquarters have been in Canton for the past 15 years, but we're looking forward to relocating to Scio Township. We recently purchased and have been in the process of renovating a building on Parkland Plaza as well, finally. And we come for you tonight to talk about some additional building space that we'd like to add to that property.
My name is Shane Burley with Studio Detroit Architects, lead architect and designer on the project.
I'm Joe Mayer of Washington Engineering, civil engineering on the project.
May I have access to share my screen, please?
Will you raise your hand so she can identify you?
Zoom.
And your Zoom hand, yeah.
Yep, you got it.
I did it, there you
Good.
He loads, some additional facts are currently located, as I mentioned, in Canton, and 2 buildings there, as well as 1 in Ann Arbor City. And we're looking to consolidate a number of people, 60 so far, in the building. Once we're able to move in, we'll hopefully do that in the next month or so. That would give us a full building, in fact, by the time we move in on day 1. So what we're looking at tonight, see the second building here, that's the first building that stands today, with the 30 on it. That building will be completely full. So as he pans around here, we're gonna look at part 2, phase 2. We'd like to add the next building that would give us space for an additional 60 to further consolidate people we've got kind of scattered, currently working from home, as well as some additional office space to bring them all here at Scio Township.
So as part of, phase 1, trying to move into the existing building there in Parkland. Phase 2 with this project would be a roughly 22,000 square foot addition to that, plus a little bit extra for a keytrain and connector. It would be restaining the existing block on that building facing Parkland, and then painting some of the trim details to kind of provide a more cohesive look for the overall, concept of the site. Yeah.
Noting some of the things you talked about with our neighbors to the south in Parkland Plaza, the property today already has a walking path that we're hoping to rehab and doing some additional landscaping. We planted a number of trees there. And as you can see from the concept, we're looking to add additional places that our employees can get outside, be around, involved in the natural landscape that are there. We actually did talk about pickleball courts painted on our parking lot. We want to have that, or the building will have a gym in it, so we want people to be active and not just sit inside the building all day. The pond, or the big property today has an existing koi pond to the south of it. We didn't maintain that. We're hoping if we add the next 2 photos, we will continue to kind of expand more of the landscaping, more of the recreational side of it.
Again, proposed additions, this is a by right use, this is OS1 zoning district, we're office use. We are proposing again 23,000 square feet.
Well, why are you here? You want something?
They need to come here for their site plan.
Oh, you want approval of your site?
One approval of site plan, please, and
I'm just trying to keep it
You're
straight for
reacting to
myself.
vibe, right?
So I got a 1-page site plan.
Mhm.
No.
No,
I must have downloaded something.
There's 34 pages in mine.
34.
yeah, online if you wanna.
site access to remain off of parkland. We are improving the access off of Park Road. This will allow additional fire truck access from that drive to the back, and also serves as a separate delivery for drivers and yard haulers. There may be some questions about this proposed storage building, lounge space, which is what we're referring to the L building on the plans all the way to the west side. This is a private vehicle collection storage area for Victory personal collection cars. We do have a lounge space on the first floor, which will be open for internal events only. This is not a rentable public event space. It's internal, strictly for them and their events and all the corporate functions. They'll bring all their staff from around the US, right?
Yeah, across our 60 locations, we have approximately 3,500 employees. And we do multiple times a year training with our general managers, with our controllers, accountants, and other people from the store level. And today we always have to rent a space. So we go to Weber's, or we go to the Detroit Weston Hotel or something like that, or other places across the country. So we're looking forward to adding this 3rd building that would be for those guests to come to do training, to do meetings throughout the year. But it would be more like an evening or weekend type event, because we want them working during the day, so we bring them for training off hours. So that kind of helps balance parking loads and things like that as well across the campus. But it will be a private event. And then of course, just the fact that we have an inventory somewhere north of 12,000 cars at any one time, we'll store a few cars there more for display or special training purposes.
There was also some comments about the parking overage on the site plan. Part of the reason is, with 40,000 square feet of office space, that also houses a call center, and we've got space for 100 employees alone just in the call center. So the additional, I think, what was it, 90 spots, would be used for staff and employees, for the day-to-day functions. Phase 2 does not negatively impact nearby residential spaces. Like you mentioned, we do have a walking path around the entire site. We do have the existing koi pond that is fenced in on that southern portion of that property. We've made efforts to maintain existing vegetation, and Joe can probably talk about that a little bit, the mature trees that we're leaving. Environmental considerations. Our building does have solar panels on it, the existing one, so that's a good thing. We will be looking at the addition of 8 EV chargers, 4 on the existing structure, and then 4 more on the proposed L building. And then I know that we've had conversations about taking a look at campsite supports and geothermal heating and cooling. So that would be something that we could take into consideration as well as we move forward. Rooftop units are screened, there's documentation in your packet about our typical screening. Site signage, we understand that it's a separate permit, we did show some concepts, just so you can understand what we're looking at doing. Just wanted to say victory, and then I think there's one more tenant that's in that lower building, that they kind of need some signage on there as well. Yeah. Lighting, we do provide photometrics and cut sheets, and I know there's a question about the 0.03 foot candles at the northern and southern property lines. I can pull up the photometric, and explain how those lights are so far set back from the northern one that we didn't even put caps on that portion, so I could go through that if you need to. Materials, I do have samples of the proposed facade material. It's a fiber cement panel with rain screen principles, so stay nice and dry. And then we're also doing a lot of glass and aluminum curtain wall for the remainder of the clad. Brick stain, again, we're not gonna paint that brick. I'd love to stain it. I would, maintain that texture and obviously blend in a little bit better with the color concept that we're doing on the addition and the outlook. Joe, you wanna talk a little stormwater and so?
Sure. Can we just go to the next slide? Right. So as Shane mentioned, this site's kind of unique. It actually has 3 road frontages, and it was previously this is a project that was previously designed, never fully built. So it's got a water main loop already through it. It has sanitary sewer service to most of the buildings at this time. There was a previous home there that was already torn down. We're actually going to be reusing that sewer service that was connected there. The storm sewer system, you see a screen there, is a pinkish color. There's one existing underground stormwater detention system there that actually is going to be maintained. It's got 100% infiltration capacity of that system. And then we've got 2 other infiltration systems on the property that are also going to be infiltration systems underground, so we can preserve the upper space, use that as green space, lawn space. This site, the sands here, when we had it tested, ranged from 55 inches per hour in infiltration rate down to 5 inches per hour. So we're able to accommodate 100% of all our stormwater on our site, from buildings, parking lots, everything into the ground, back to our aquifers. On site, regulated trees 6 inches and larger. There is slightly over 1,000 DBH or 89 trees that qualify for that on this property. We're removing 16 of them. A lot of benefits of relocating pathways, reusing existing driveway location rather than making it shorter. We kept it where it was, a little longer. We're also able to maintain those trees. Well, we're all within our 20% allowable removal, and none of our heritage trees, which we only have 4 on the site, will be removed. So we're preserving all our heritage trees. So, yeah, so there's no wetlands on site. That's it for right now, as far as that goes. Into the landscape plan. Right there. You can see we're, preserving a large number of the existing trees, especially along Park Road. A lot of our existing trees along there. There's actually more trees than what we showed too. There's a lot of smaller trees planted around the site. Gone out there, you've seen them. And then, of course, we're adding a lot of our trees that we needed. We do have a couple landscape variance requests that we are making for this project. Mostly due to existing trees that are there. One of our variances, let's see, the buffer along public roadways. Along Park Road, we've got a large number of existing trees. So try to squeeze more trees in between those. They're just not gonna work pretty well there. We've got a pretty good screening system along there. yeah, obviously the perimeter shrubbery too, it's all pretty green in that area, so. We're asking just for that variance, for the site to the existing plans.
A question for you, Joe. Did you look at, was there any place within the site plan that you could enhance the landscaping with some of the required plantings that would have been required in that book?
I think we've added more plantings than, what was required. Interior landscaping trees, I think L2, sorry, yeah. Required to have 10 landscape islands, with provided 14. Required to have 19 trees between existing and proposed. And we've got well over 24 trees. Parking lot perimeter trees, we've got a lot of trees, more than what's needed for the code, Parking lot trees needed 46, we got 73. And again, those trees are what's making it difficult to add those shrubs, all those existing trees, try to preserve as many of the existing trees as we can. Because you get more shade out of an existing tree that's mature than putting in a small 2-inch caliber tree and waiting for 10 years for it to grow back up. So under foundation plantings, 6 trucks per 30 feet. Whereas we got 84, so they were providing the minimum, I guess, that we needed there, but and what are going to be open spaces. So 25% site landscapes, which is 54,000 square feet. We've got between existing and provided over 200,000 square feet of open space. Almost 3 times what's required.
So
Yeah, go ahead, question.
there's 2 variances to the landscape requirements, and that's.
Not a cover sheet.
Okay, but it looks like it's in the perimeter, parking lot perimeter, and
The green belt.
the front green belt. Okay.
And that has to do with the Park Road. Any other questions? I'm sorry, were you done? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions of fact with that?
So as I understand your presentation, the only thing you're asking for is that we waive the buffer along parkland. With that requirement.
It's actually 2 variances, the buffer along Park Road and the buffer for the parking lot screening. I get that.
Yeah, so the green belt and the perimeter parking lot screening in this case is along the green belt, the perimeter parking lot along.
Park,
Park Road.
Yes.
not everywhere else, along
Right.
Park Road.
Right, and so the same mature tree situation is in both.
Right, yeah.
So you're waiving both a green belt and a perimeter. And it's not a variance, it's a waiver.
Oh,
Oh,
wrong.
yeah, let's just.
We'll get it together.
No, I know. I
But
don't want
that's
to,
a good
it's
reminder.
not a variance.
I
It
was
goes in
following
the
Joe's
case.
Yeah,
idea.
sorry, yeah.
I know,
It's a waiver, yeah.
it's getting late.
So I'm trying to pick up on your clarification. So the buffer along Park Road is a what?
Green belt,
A green belt.
required green belt. And it happens that there is parking that is also adjacent to Park Road. That requires a perimeter parking lot landscaping.
And that's the buffer for parking. lots
So
of
it's the
green.
same location on the site. And it has 2 requirements in that exact location. For green belt and perimeter landscaping, parking lot landscape.
And
And
I'm
mature trees exist in that location.
Okay, and I'm looking at this diagram from your memo. And along Park Road, Is that industrial on the other side?
So this property, oh, yeah, so this property has two zoning districts. It is zoned OS on the east side and it is zoned I1 on the west side.
But on the north side of Park, that's industrial.
Oh,
as
on the
well?
north side?
Not this property, but
I don't know what it is. I'd have to look at the map.
Because part of Park is residential. Not in that
Not
area.
in that area.
West.
West. Yeah. And why do you want us to waive that?
well, they're one.
I know.
Yeah,
why
we're
do you
asking
want
for
us
the
to-
waiver because in order to plant those items, I was
Plant what
thinking of this berm there as well. In order to put them in, you're taking other things out, and put the new shrubbery and new trees in. If they're just not gonna fit
If you-
it with
if
all
you-
existing plant like it's there now.
Look at the aerial.
I'm having problems with that, so. So if I'm understanding of what you just said, Joe, if I may call you Joe. You're asking for these waivers. Because of structure ability.
If I can clarify, I mean, we have existing vegetation there today, mature trees and things like that. We would have to take those out and put in the required shrubs. We're saying,
Okay.
let's not do that.
That was great. I see, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Laura, why don't you go ahead with your,
So I just want, just some clarification, the properties across from this site on Park Road are zoned C2 general commercial. So, but this property it does have two zonings, it's OS and I1. It's all office, and ancillary uses associated with the office. Office uses are also allowed in I1. So this is, as they said, the applicant said, is by right development. We reviewed, and had very few comments, for you. This development is very similar to the former Tri-Stone office development that was originally approved and the first building was built. Building 2 and building 3 are in the same locations as the approved, site plan had, 3 buildings on that as well. So, site access and circulation is a little bit different. The applicant is requesting to keep the Park Road driveway. It's my understanding that the road commission is okay with that. And the fire, marshal likes it for additional access. We would recommend approval, of the site plan with the following conditions. The township engineer verified the proposed BMPs are sufficient, best management practices. That the planning commission consider the deviation in parking to allow the surplus of 92 spaces. As the applicant indicated, those are spaces that they need for their employees. 3, that the planning commission consider the waiver of the required green belt and perimeter parking lot landscaping due to existing mature trees. And then 4, all signage is required to obtain separate sign permits. In addition to those, site plan conditions, prior to detail engineering approval or consideration by the township board, we would need the Washtenaw County Road Commission determination if a traffic study is needed. Approval of the Park Road driveway. The applicant would provide details of required at-grade transformer landscape screening. And, the foot candle measurement, I understand what Shane said. I'd like to see at least the southern portion, was shown at the border of the parking lot in the southern, which is still 1 foot. So I'd like to just, show me that you meet the 1.3. That should be pretty simple.
So I'm confused, if they're only here to get our waiver, why are we dealing with all these recommendations they have in your?
So site plan approval is required to, a by right development, when they make modifications to the site, is required to get site plan approval. That comes to the planning commission. You approve the site plan, make a recommendation of the site plan, and then the detail engineering plan goes to the board for final.
So you're recommending,
Site plan approval.
Laura, that we agree to additional parking spaces?
Yes.
based on their projected employee count? And if they did include floor plans, in their submittal.
So. Planning Commission would consider deviation in parking to allow a surplus of 92 parking spaces. That's in addition to other parking spaces, 92.
This in addition to what, so the office use is required to provide one space per 300 square feet. So just a business or professional office of this size would be required to provide 147 spaces. Our ordinance allows for the planning commission to allow an increase or a decrease in the required parking spaces based on information provided by the applicant that they need additional parking. So we've always been very open about, you know, our applicants, our business people, they know better how much parking they need in a lot of situations than we do. Just based on the size of their business, the type of business, with the phones, the data center, it's a lot more people than a typical office.
Yeah, so I mean, historically, we have denied additional parking requests. So that's not, so but I'm just trying factually to get this down. You were asking for 92 spaces over 100 over the 147 that you're gonna need. So
No, they need 200, they need 239.
okay,
Our ordinance would require that they provide 147.
I see.
And they did provide, actual floor plans to look at the layout. The document layout.
Plus, they're taking care of the surface water runoff that
At 100%.
often create problems with it. You know, because it doesn't usually absorb it. They're putting in underground storage for.
With 100% infiltration, so none of that is going, the surface water is not going. The storm system. But you're right, we want to scrutinize the request for additional parking.
Parking spaces.
Right.
Projects. Okay.
We need to hear from OHM, Stacy.
My review is pretty brief tonight. We recommended in our letter from June 16th, we did not have any outstanding comments as the applicant has already addressed all of our previous comments. And they are anticipating needing 4 additional REUs for a total of 13. They already have 9 existing REUs. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Stacy?
I have a question. Stacy, you said that the property comes with 9 existing REUs? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes,
So they would want to add another 7 REUs?
4.
4.
Thank you. Other. And fire was good. Other questions and comments, concerns?
So I guess I would ask, if our planner or our engineer is concerned about that. This sounds like a huge amount of people coming in and out of Haven. Are there any concerns about traffic?
So as part of the detail engineering, one of my recommendations was that the road commission, it's up to the road commission whether or not a traffic study has to be conducted. And so before detail engineering approval at the board, they'll either have to do a traffic study if that's what's required by the road commission, or the road commission will say it's not warranted.
It wasn't in their review letter.
Okay.
Said this, that we need to know.
Okay,
Facts.
so
If they
Yeah,
said
just-
what?
So do we, at any point, would we be concerned about that issue? We just leave that, I mean, I understand the road commission.
I'm not concerned with it. This was a property that was planned to essentially have this amount of office space on it previously and was approved.
Was one
With
building-
with one less driveway access. So I'm not concerned with the traffic.
And to clarify, it was previously approved with Rico.
Yeah, oh, it was.
Yes. Yes.
And Commissioner, I had to answer your question. I believe Joe said we already received a letter from. the
Yeah,
Road
we
Commission.
received a letter from the Road Commission. Their comments were basically notes on the plans. There weren't anything that was, that was gonna alter our plan.
Right, that was
Based on their
having to
review.
do with the driveway situation.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
just
Did they
information
respond
need
to
for
the-
permits.
Did they say anything about, traffic study? Or does that still have to be addressed?
No, there's nothing in there about the traffic study. This is just a list of what we need to get our permit, looks like.
But we need to have a determination made.
Well,
We can
they,
make the request.
we can make the request, but they probably, if it's not listed in the to be
Okay,
completed items, it's probably
then
not.
they don't.
So we just need to confirm that they don't. Any other concerns or?
No. Looks like a good project. It's in this particular part of the country. I like that you're saving trees.
It's gonna be a pretty property.
You got that prelude in the last one.
We did. We do. Like that we're relocating here.
Yes.
Yeah,
And, you know, hopefully that, you will also note that there is a public bus stop, right at the entrance, not too far, and we are going to be hoping to promote more of that. Public transit,
I don't know if Shane has bike racks planned as well.
yeah, well, that's also required, but, but no, it's a great location for something like this, absolutely. All right, I'm ready for a motion.
we'll make the motion.
Okay, go back.
Site plan 25007 Victory Headquarters. Based upon the information received from the applicant and reflected in the minutes of this meeting, the planning commission finds that site plan 25007 Victory HQ meets the required standards and findings for site plan approval pursuant to section 36-180 of the zoning ordinance and recommends approval. The site plan is granted with the following conditions. Now I do have a question. We're saying concerns noted in the township planner's review. Would we list the recommendations as well? Or is that when it said?
I incorporate all of those, whether it's site plan and detail engineering, those are all part. of
Okay.
this, if that's what you're.
Concerns noted in the township planner's review dated June 17, 2025. Concerns noted in the township engineer's review dated June 16, 2025. And we need to list that the planning commission recommends approval of the waiver for parking in addition of 92 spaces. And the planning commission recommends approval of a landscape waiver for, well, that was in,
It's okay, it's okay to say it. And there's no.
parking perimeter landscape requirements. There's two sections, two areas.
Parking, perimeter parking and greenbelt.
And greenbelt landscape requirements.
I would just like to add, just so it's clear to the Board of Trustees that the parking spaces due to the 100% infiltration and the demonstrated need for employees. And then the waiver of the landscaping is to the adequate existing buffer along Park Road.
Thank you.
Is there support?
I'll second that.
That was Commissioner Fletcher. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Walsh, yes. Moore,
Yes.
Hyde,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yeah,
Culbertson.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Zero.
Thank you very much. And just as a couple notes, one, Joe, you might want to take a look at the draft of our updated landscape ordinance.
Yeah, I put a note on that already.
Yeah, good. And thank you. The existing building has solar, and looking at geothermal could be, because one of the goals that we have is achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. So thank you for at least considering how you could meet that.
I hope you have an open house for your grandchildren. I want to see them vehicles.
Yes, and welcome to Scio.
Welcome to Scio. You were very easy to go with.
All right, moving along.
We're moving forward.
All right. Right. We're to the 7555 rezoning A1 to I1. And the applicant's welcome to move forward if you want. I'm gonna stand up for a little bit. Anybody need a quick? Let's just get, yeah.
Let's just get this.
So we get this one done.
Get it done.
Want to get that done before we take a break?
Well,
Let's
we're
just
waiting.
get- Let's just get
Yes.
this.
Okay, you're welcome to come forward. Yeah. All right,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
As the applicant has pointed out, we know each other. We used to be neighbors, and I don't know whether our refusal, what is the topic name?
For conflict of interest.
Yes, I don't know whether this qualifies. I have personal contact with the applicant, but with no financial.
You're getting anything on the table?
Thank you for disclosing.
I don't see.
And I didn't recognize John by the application until you were in the room. Going, oh, wait, I know this guy.
Thank you for.
It's been a while.
Yeah, does anyone, is
It's been a
anyone
while.
concerned? Okay, all right. Moving on, all right.
Have you been consulting with this?
Not on this project.
Question for me.
All right. Okay, so. Discussion by commissioners on the rezoning. Yes. go ahead.
Yeah, one too long, you spoke for.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, in the plan, let's see, what is this called? It's sheet 101 of the layout of the property that was submitted. There's a setback inside of the boundaries that the existing buildings, some of the existing buildings are outside or within that setback.
They
Does that
encroach.
matter, or is that going to be taken care of else?
They currently encroach,
Yes.
they will encroach under the new zoning as well. I
Yes.
mean, it's
And it's going to just be that way.
gonna just be that way. Until one of those buildings is taken down or removed, and then it would have, any new building would have to meet the setbacks.
So there's nothing that we need to do.
As
During
part,
this-
as part of this rezoning.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Which building is encroaching on the?
The house, the shed,
Okay.
A and
So
B,
the
A
existing,
and
they've
B.
kind of been there like for 50 or 60
Yes.
years.
yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, once upon a time.
I just wanted to know if we had to address it.
I understand. My question also was, once it is rezoned, I understand the setbacks for my new building are actually further than they have to be. Is that correct?
I didn't look at that, John, as part
I
of this.
thought
rezone.
this, my civil engineer, when he looked at it, he said, look, John, if you ever wanted to add on to your existing storage building under I1, your setbacks are actually less than they are under ag.
They are, yes, but I don't know.
That may be a problem.
Well, no, I don't think it's a
It's
problem,
not a-
it's actually an advantage.
Sad, like very good.
Because I I get actually a smaller setback.
So you have more buildable
I could,
area.
yeah,
Oh, I
that's, it's
see.
kind of, you can build closer to the property line.
Well, your drawing shows the setbacks for I1 zoning, I assume, since that's how it's labeled at the bottom. And your new building in D, your newest building, building E in your drawing
Right,
at the southern boundary is set back further than it needed to be.
right.
But, so, yeah,
I think it had, it is my understanding not that it had to be set back that far under the agricultural. And now under I1, it's actually, the setback is smaller.
Yes, that's true. The rear setback, it was 50 in agriculture, it's 35 in I1. The front is 50 in ag and in I1, and the side in agriculture is 30. And the side in I1 is 20.
Yeah, so I
So-
get like 20 more, I get 10 more feet of buildable space on the west side, potentially. And then some additional on the south side. I don't know if we want to do that, I'm
Right.
just pointing it out,
it's there
right?
already.
And then that is, I mean, the university is growing, as you know. And that is the one building that we would probably be interested in expanding. And at some point.
And the other thing that I was wanting to point out was the driveway. That's also. That doesn't have a setback requirement, or does it? Okay, just build. Okay. I'm done interrupting.
So I just like to say,
I think Bob had something he wanted.
oh, I'm sorry. No,
Then we'll go.
No, go ahead. I'm not urgent.
I was just gonna say, this seems like a necessary direction. Let's just get on.
Yeah, while that may be true, I just want to say this, because this is our ongoing problem, with people purchasing property and doing stuff along the Jackson Corridor. I'm not sure this type of property, this type of project would be what we would want along the new Jackson Road corridor. But it is what it is, and it's made us do this property's already done. And hopefully we can accelerate our Jackson Road corridor planning a little bit better. Cause I don't see storage as a
Prime use.
yeah, a prime use for our new envisioned Jackson Road corridor. But that being said, we're living in the now, and I get that. So,
And I would also say, I would agree with you. And as your vision for the corridor progresses, I would like to. That's why I built this building like way in the back, so it wouldn't be.
You can see it from the road, can you?
Pardon?
You can't see it from the road. can you?
No,
Yeah.
you can't. I mean, it's very hard to see, but I built it along the back end of the property line so that I could cooperate with the future vision for Jackson Road and the Jackson corridor. I didn't.
Thank
talk
you.
to
Yeah,
Brian.
well, I think we'll
Okay, good.
go back to our
Thanks.
deliberation here, but thank you for that commitment. Anyone else have a? All right, Bob.
It has to do with the uses that we're now going to allow on this property, if my concern is. Look, the one I'm going to bring up here addresses, and that has to do with Woodview Commons, the right next,
Close by.
they abut in one spot, and it's conceivable that a machine shop would put in that building or in that space in some future iteration, not what's being proposed, but something like that right next to a residential community. I'm just a little concerned.
Can I say something? The building supply place, the antler on the sign. Look what all they've done, and they back up to Scio Farms,
Yep,
and that's residential.
yep,
And I was sitting here going, really? And all the noise that makes.
exactly.
It's probably-
That is a concern.
Like
Yeah.
8 Point, they.
Right.
Next.
So it would, perhaps be something that would need to be addressed depending on what this applicant would like to do with his property down the road.
Not just what he would like to do, but
What
some
other
future
people-
owner.
So.
I'm not saying you want.
Just to clarify, a machine shop, a tool and die machine shop is a conditional use. It's not permitted by right.
Okay, so I picked the wrong.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
still.
manufacturing, research, that could happen here, you know, but typically in I1, the intent of I1 is to have, you know,
It's light
it's a
industrial.
light industrial, it's not meant to have any negative impacts outside of its building. You
Okay.
know, we don't allow outdoor storage,
Okay,
we don't allow outdoor, loud, noisy, smelly stuff in I1.
unless they do it without.
We got approval, and then guess what, we gotta.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah, you have a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on this. I know you had thought about in the future allowing trucks, tools, parked back there. That would be in that back portion of the property.
So, you see the building that I built way in the back, and then there's the house and the other buildings in the front.
Mhm.
And the driveway goes along that, eastern border. So there's this big wide open piece in between.
Mhm.
And in fact, and so if we kept the driveway there, that's potentially where I'd like to maybe put a fence around so that, you know, if it allows for storage use, I could use it for storage. Or some buildings along that side potentially would be again for tradespeople.
And are you looking at like, big diesel trucks or more like
No, no.
vans?
No, vans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There's,
just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
We're talking about potential future uses. This is a rezoning of property. So those, I mean, we have to talk about what uses may be allowed under this new zoning.
Right.
But what he's talking about for future, that's another conversation for another time.
It is, but. just
Is
what-
that allowed?
The conditions that were allowed.
So yes, a contract, an office and warehouse of a skilled contractor or a service contractor are allowed as permitted uses in I. But again, they have to be completely enclosed. We don't allow outdoor storage, etc.
And there would have to be an adequate buffer between the I1 and the residential.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and so I'm not concerned anymore about the conditional tool and die machine shop that might go in right there next to you.
And open their doors and have the rolling. And
Okay, so it
Sorry,
would be
getting
considered.
late.
Okay, all right, so I think we're ready for a motion.
no.
All right.
So for number 2025003 7555 Jackson Road rezoning. We've got from A1 general agriculture to I1 light industrial. Based upon the information received from the applicant and reflected in minutes of this meeting, the planning commission finds the proposed 7555 Jackson Road rezoning H 0819-100-011 from A1 general agriculture to I1 light industrial meets the informational requirements of sections 36-461, the factors found in section 36-462 of the zoning ordinance.
Is there support? Support from Commissioner Moore. Right, any further discussion? All those in favor? I know, sorry,
Yeah.
roll call vote.
Hi,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Walsh, yes, Moore.
Yes.
Culbertson,
Yes. Okay,
motion carries.
thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. On to the next
Email
step.
you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. You're welcome. Let's take that next step.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty.
Good to see you again.
I would move, that we postpone reports.
We do need to do one, we need to call a special meeting. That's one thing that we need to do, that was gonna be a part of our reports, I know. That came up today. For the Jackson Road corridor with the feel. That's one thing we do need to do.
Or if it's gonna be VOT, DDA. Good.
Yep.
I didn't remember.
Hopefully, I didn't get to the end of the DDA meeting today, but they were supposed to also the ones. It'll be, so,
They
well,
did, the DDA meeting that concurred
okay,
with the date.
okay, good, thank you.
So I would amend my motion to postpone all the reports except for the chair's report.
Thank you. And the only part of the chair's report, I will ask that, could I have a motion to schedule a special meeting of the planning commission in conjunction with the VOT and the DDA for August 19th at 4 p.m. to review the Jackson corridor study recommendations and implementation strategies.
It's so.
Okay? Moved by Moore.
I thought it was
support
moved by you.
No, I can't make a motion. And supported by Walsh. Hi, sorry, I keep doing that.
Well, we know why.
All right, that's the bottom thing. All right,
Oh, vote.
we just need a, yeah, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have scheduled a special meeting. All right, with that, we'll move to public comment. There's no one here. Anyone online?
No.
All right,
Thank you, everybody.
then, thank you. We'll close public comment,
Close public comment.
by Moore, support, aye.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right. I'll close public comment at 10:16. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Moved by Moore, support by Hyde. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned at 10:16. Thank you all.